Olympic team, which won just 7 gold medals and 19 overall. 2% of all medals, one of the worst ratios of any host nation. But there's one category in which Brazil's Olympians were a runaway success, coming in last place. The Wall Street Journal handed out lead, tin, and zinc medals to the athletes who came in last place, second to last, and third to last. Egypt may be the biggest winner of the losers. The Egyptian Olympic team collected just 3 bronze medals in the official medal count, but tied for third in the Journal's table with 23 lead, tin, and zinc medals for their third to last, second to last, and last place finishes. The Journal says even one of the biggest stars of the Olympics couldn't avoid the pitfalls of earning a lead medal. Pita Taufa Tafua, the Tonga flag bearer who paraded around shirtless during the ceremonies, came in last place in his taekwondo event. That'll do it for this hour. For Jennifer Kashenka, I'm Gordon Deal. Thanks for listening to This Morning, America's First News.
The sounds of summer from your very own pool and spa is brought to you by All Seasons Pools, Spas, and Outdoor Living. All Seasons Pools and Spas begins from the ground up with creative custom design, expert pool construction, and hardscaping, and then finishes with complete maintenance and care, leaving you to enjoy the of summer. As you soak up the sun poolside, imagine a fire pit, outdoor kitchen, or pergola. All Seasons Pool and Spa will turn your boring backyard into a vacation paradise. No need to go off the deep end. Relax, knowing that for over 60 years, All Seasons Pools and Spas has been making a splash in your neighborhood. Visit their showroom and store for a complete selection of pool, spa, robotic pool cleaners, and premium barbecue and grill islands. A trained staff is on hand to provide water testing, salt and chlorine products, and advice for servicing your pool. All Seasons Pool and Spa and Outdoor Living, 135th Street in Orland Park, or resortlivingathome.com. That's resortlivingathome.com.
What's happening? What does it mean? Why is it important? We've got the answer. AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The water is still slowly receding in flood-ravaged Louisiana with more rain expected.
Many areas and neighborhoods still dealing with those floodwaters that are elevated and at flood stage or above flood stage across portions of Louisiana. So this is going to be sticking around for several more days out there. And the forecast is for messy weather to continue with showers and thunderstorms.
Fox meteorologist Maria Molina. President Obama set to visit Baton Rouge tomorrow. The flooding killed at least 13 people, displacing thousands. Evacuation orders lifted in Southern California after progress on multiple wildfires, one east of L.A. that destroyed more than 100 homes, now more than 80% contained, but a trio of new fires forcing hundreds to flee around Spokane, Washington. Laid word that Russia will no longer be using an Iranian airbase to launch airstrikes in Syria. Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher live in our Mideast Bureau.
Lisa, Tehran's foreign ministry is essentially calling the Kremlin's use of its air base in Iran a one-off, saying that Moscow has no base in the Islamic Republic and the operation is finished for now. A week ago, Russia's fighter jets took off from Iran to carry out its air campaign in Syria. Tehran's constitution was ratified after the 1979 Islamic Revolution and forbids foreign countries to have military bases in the country. Iran and Russia are allies and have battled President Syrian Bashar al-Assad. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. Another busy week on the campaign trail after the Trump campaign shakeup.
Republican Donald Trump starts his week with a return to Ohio, a state viewed as must-win for his presidential hopes, rallying later today in Akron. Other stops this week are not in so-called battlegrounds. Rallies on the schedule in reliably red Texas and Mississippi. Democrat Hillary Clinton starts her week fundraising on the West Coast and doing some TV on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern in Washington. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Skies are clear this morning. We have 64 degrees. At 5:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. An 8-year-old girl and a woman in stable condition following a shooting on Chicago's west side. Police say the pair was shot last night on North Major Avenue. Both were driven by another person to a nearby hospital. Right now, police say no one is in custody. 9 are recovering after a vehicle crashes into a restaurant on Chicago's northwest side. Police say that vehicle ran a red light and slammed into another vehicle that plowed into a Puerto Rican restaurant near Fullerton and Kimball. This morning, 2 of the victims hospitalized in critical condition. Illinois State Police say a trooper shot and wounded a teenage boy who was fleeing inside a stolen vehicle on Chicago's south side. Sun-Times reporting that vehicle was stolen at gunpoint earlier Saturday. Trooper later spotted that vehicle and tried to pull it over. Vehicle sped away but eventually was caught up in traffic at the Chinatown feeder. Police say that's when troopers approached the stopped vehicle and the driver tried to run one of the troopers over. One of the troopers, fearing for his life, fired into the vehicle. That vehicle then sped off again, and eventually 4 jumped out. 3 suspects were arrested, and a 4th later arrived at a nearby hospital with multiple non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Prosecutors want to impose a maximum 30-year prison sentence on a former Illinois National Guard soldier, calling his plot to attack a military facility in Joliet a contemptible betrayal of the nation's trust. Prosecutors filing in Chicago's federal courtroom says 23-year-old Hassan Edmonds deserves the sentence for 2 counts of conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terror organization. The Illinois Department of Corrections says 6 officers were injured by inmates at a maximum security prison in an incident Sunday at the Pontiac Correctional Center. The IDOC continues to investigate. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. It's Colorado over the Cubs 11-4. Alabama keeps rolling. The Tide number 1 in the AP preseason top 25 college football poll. Clemson 2, Oklahoma 3. Rio Olympics. The U.S. has its first marathon medal since 2004 after Galen Rupp captures the bronze and Kyle Snyder becomes the youngest Olympic wrestling champion in U.S. history. The news service of Back to School Illinois. Back to School Illinois providing school supplies for children in need. You can help by making a donation to any neighborhood currency exchange or at b2si.org. Back to School Illinois, working to improve educational opportunities for Illinois children. b2si.org. 5:05 is our time. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's back. The biggest conservative event in the Midwest returns this October. It's Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca, featuring Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Mike Gallagher, Stephen Moore, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Joe Walsh, and many more. Tickets start at just $29. Order your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Dr. Amy and Associates, the Federal Savings Bank, and by Combined Sales.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mark Weingart, President and CEO of Star Creations, Inc., the fastest-growing supplier of wall decor products in the U.S. When it comes to banking, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. That's why I bank at Signature Bank Chicago. At Signature Bank, every customer is important. I know I can pick up the phone and talk to any one of the decision makers I know and trust at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, they understand and respond to the unique needs of my business with flexibility and fairness. I'm proud to bank with Signature Bank because I know they're deeply invested in the success of Star Creations.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
5:06. Time to check the climate of your business with aircomfort.com, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Let's get an update on that early morning ride to work. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Telemonte. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. On the inbound Ron, we've got some early morning construction delays. It's slow going from 35th to the Stevenson with the overnight work now clearing. It's about 18 minutes from 95th to downtown. That work is now clearing, so that should lighten up a bit. The Edens is clear, the Kennedy just fine. No delays to report on the Eisenhower. A crash at Holman just cleared out of the way. The Stevenson is fine. No issues to report right now in the area tollways. Northwest Indiana is looking good too. Traffic is a service of Amtrak. Great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel the way it should be. Go from Chicago to Minneapolis for $54 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Book now at Amtrak.com/saverfares. See where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Holly Holdren.
Mostly sunny today, high 78. Mainly clear tonight, low 61. Then tomorrow will be mostly sunny with a high of 82. Breezy and humid on Wednesday with a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. High Wednesday, 80. I'm Holly Holdren on AM 560, The Answer.
58 at O'Hare, 62 along the lakefront, 53 this morning in Aurora. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. HealthQuest Radio is heard Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock here on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Except in for Amy is Kristen McQuarrie from the Chicago Tribune editorial board. Kristen, thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. I'm not quite awake yet.
Thank you for not bringing your service animal. We appreciate that.
No, but I did just take Claritin for all the bunky hair that's all over the chairs in here. So.
It's a small price to pay for the joy of having Bunky in studio.
True.
Amy is on vacation this week. I think she's visiting Rod Blagojevich in Littleton. She said something about going to a prison, so I can only assume.
Really?
Probably.
Fascinating.
Maybe Drew Peterson first, then Rod Blagojevich, and then she'll do a little swimming.
I see. She'll make the rounds to all of our imprisoned governors.
So the Olympics concluded last night. The Rio Games, came off pretty well, I thought, with the occasional stick-up and the occasional faux stick-up. But otherwise, it was pretty entertaining. What your highlights?
I loved watching Michael Phelps. I have to say that a lot of the swimming competitions were probably my favorite.
Doesn't his slack jaw, don't you find that kind of jarring and disquieting?
No,
difficult to look
at.
at?
I do find his torso to be a little freakish.
Yeah.
Because it's so long.
He's a freak of nature.
He is sort of a freak of nature.
A physical impossibility.
Right. But, he's just so amazing as a swimmer. So I really enjoyed that. I didn't watch was it closing ceremonies? I didn't watch any of that.
Last night.
But I did hear from journalists on the ground that it really wasn't as well put together as it looked on TV. A lot of the stadiums were half built. Structures still had, construction barriers around them. So it's kind of a miracle, I think, that they pulled it off.
It is.
But they did.
Yeah.
They did it.
And thank God it wasn't here.
I know.
Let them be negative $16 billion in terms of that whole presentation and the whole hosting of the games. It better them to be down another $16 billion than the city of Chicago, which probably would have been a multiple of that since, we make banana republics look well governed by comparison here. A couple of things about the Olympics, just in wrapping it up. I thought one thing was interesting, and it was consistent throughout. There was no Tommy Smith, John Carlos moment.
What's that?
Tommy Smith, John Carlos from the 68 games, the Black Power salute. You remember that?
No.
Well,
and why would I?
I wasn't born in 68 either, but that's part of Olympic and American history.
Oh, sorry.
So those were tumultuous times in America, obviously the late 60s, and there were race riots, the assassination of King in 68, in April of 68, of course. And so Olympic athletes responded to the tumult going on in the country. They were in Mexico City, but of course responding to what's happening in their home country, Black Olympic athletes. So there's this whole Black Lives Matter movement in this country. It isn't a movement. Because it was interesting to me that all of the great Black American athletes, whether it's the basketball teams or Simone Biles or the swimmer, the first African-American female swimming champion, or the gymnasts I mentioned, the track and field stars, the first African American female shot put gold medalist, I think, Michelle Carter. I'm an encyclopedia of the Olympics.
I guess you've been watching a lot of it.
Well, I follow this. This is very interesting, and but all of that, and you saw it yesterday when the men's basketball team won the gold. What flag did they drape over themselves? What flag were they all waving? What flag were they saluting? What song were they singing from the dais upon receipt of their medals? Let me give you a hint. It wasn't the Black Liberation flag that we see in the Black Lives Matter AstroTurf marches and, kind of professional agitating that they do. And so I just wonder, is that indicative of Black Lives Matter mostly being kind of an AstroTurf movement, of course, a faux movement, a movement of a small group of professional agitators and some people that are hangers-on and, join in the fray because they have ulterior motives and generally bad ones. Racial demagogues, of course, that the white media loves to profile and run to with cameras and microphones. But otherwise, does it really represent what's going on? Carmelo Anthony, of course, the great NBAer who was on the men's basketball team, a third gold medal. That's a record for an individual on Olympic basketball teams. He had this to say after the men won the gold.
Despite everything that's going on right now in the whole country, we got to be united. And I'm glad I did what I did. I stepped up to the challenge. But this is what it's about. And representing our country on the biggest stage that you can be on. America will be great again. I believe that. We got a lot of work to do, but it's one step at a time, man. I'm glad we represented in the fashion that we did.
America will be, it's a little bit difficult here, but America will be great again. We got a lot of work to do, but America will be great. I almost said he's going to make America great again, which would have really been a moment. But America will be great again. We got a lot of work to do. I thought he may, when he started going off basketball and talking about the country, I thought he may go off the rails, but he didn't at all.
You don't think so? You don't think that was a little hint of the racial healing that the country needs to have, or some little hint of the Black Lives Matter movement in that remark?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. But the idea that America has a lot of work to do and we're going to be great again, an optimistic note, I don't have any problem with that. And there are racial issues. After 7 years of Obama, 3/4 of the country think race relations have deteriorated. Mm-hmm. So he's right. Now, we could, I don't know what he thinks the causes are versus what I think the causes are, so we can have that discussion. But, highlighting the fact that we have work to do to make America as great as we all want it to be, to make it as cohesive as we want it to be. I don't see anything wrong with that statement at all.
And I just think the Olympics in general are just a patriotic, feel-good sport. We'll get back to beating each other up, now that it's over.
Yeah, but take your calls. 312-642-5600 is the Turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36D8, Turnkey.pro text line. But I guess my point is, the beating each other up, is it a small group of people that are essentially kind of gladiators in the arena? They're a spectacle for the hoi polloi. But it turns out the hoi polloi don't live their lives that way. They're not obsessed with the race. They're not having difficulty getting along with people that have different characteristics than they do. That this is so much political theater, and it's so much narrow interest trying to leverage their interests, essentially.
No, I would agree with that. And there were some stories over the weekend about who represents real Trump supporters. And they're not the people who are on Twitter and Facebook and making dumb racist remarks. They're just regular middle-class working people who don't even have time to be on social media and going to Trump rallies. And they're just ardent supporters who are just everyday Americans. And there are more and more stories coming out like that.
Well, we have to close out the Ryan Lochte story, because he sat down with Matt Lauer in between our shows here. And I want to do this because I want to introduce you to somebody that nobody's heard of. He's the anti-Ryan Lochte, who got no coverage because he's the anti-Ryan Lochte. But first, let's close out Ryan Lochte. First, he embarrassed the country with his behavior. Then he embarrassed it with his English.
What I'm trying to get at is the first version of the story you told, Ryan, was much more about the mean streets of Rio.
Yeah.
And the version we're hearing now is much more about a negotiated settlement to cover up some dumb behavior.
And that's why I'm taking full responsibility for it, is because I over-exaggerated that story.
Ooh.
And if I never done that, we wouldn't be in this mess. Those guys would never be in Rio, or were in Rio. None of this would have happened, and it was my immature behavior.
Yeah. Over-exaggerated.
Is that even a word? Is it an actual word?
It's a redundancy is what it is.
It is.
Exaggerated is sufficient.
I agree.
I mean, maybe he was trying to add emphasis to the exaggeration that he offered, but I would say this to friends and family and handlers of Ryan Lochte. You want to go ahead and murder board his answers to questions before you put him in front of Matt Lauer, even for a softball interview like a Matt Lauer is going to give, because he's just not so conversant. He's not so much of a thinker.
I mean, did we really get to the bottom of what he did? Did they admit that what did they do? They urinated in the back of a gas station because the bathroom door was locked.
They vandalized the bathroom.
I don't think that's been confirmed. I think the urination has been confirmed, but not the vandalism. I'll get right on it.
The Brazilian police said they are vandals.
Okay.
So based on the quality of Ryan Lochte's answers, I'm going to go ahead and side with the Brazilian police on this one. And they said they vandalized the washroom at this gas station. And then a security guard said, you're either going to pay for the damages that you inflicted on this business, or you're going to wait while we call the police. So your choice. And Ryan Lochte's been very hazy about that. The gun to his head, and then it was a gun in his direction, and then they were being extorted. But it didn't sound like they were being extorted. It sounded like what Matt Lauer said. They were trying to reach a settlement here. A security guard at the establishment saw they vandalized the bathroom. You're going to pay for those damages, or you're not going to leave until police arrive. And I'm going to turn it over to police. And so they paid so they could get out of there.
Well, he probably doesn't remember because they were inebriated, right? Yeah. This was 6 a.m. after an evening of lots of alcohol consumption.
Yeah, it's hard. Not exactly the best defense I've ever heard for the conduct or the apocryphal story. Here's the anti-Ryan Lochte. And he hails from Oak Lawn. You ever heard of Ryan Murphy? Anybody ever heard of Ryan Murphy? Ryan Murphy? Bueller? Ryan Murphy was born in Oak Lawn. He grew up in St. Gerald and St. Germain parishes in Oak Lawn. He then moved to Jacksonville, Florida. He was Catholic educated. He won the 100-meter backstroke, which he broke the world record. He also won the 200-meter backstroke, and he was on the U.S. gold medal 4x100 relay team alongside with Michael Phelps, Cody Miller, Nathan Adrian. I'm a firm believer in God. My faith is important to me. There are, however, times when I rely on him more than others. Overall, I'm private in my spirituality, said Ryan Murphy. Other than Mass, I pray before bed every night. I also believe it's important to balance my prayer life by actively living my faith. I have to do this by being a good son, brother, teammate, and friend. I believe God has given me a great talent for which I'm eternally grateful, and my faith gives me comfort despite the outcome of a race. I ultimately believe I know God has a larger plan for me. That's the anti-Ryan Lochte, Ryan Murphy, who the press will not cover, will not receive profile. We don't, unfortunately, offer up the Ryan Murphys as exemplars of the American Olympic team, or frankly, the American disposition. We obsess about every malapropism that a Ryan Lochte offers, and that says something about where America is, too, and what Carmelo Anthony talked about in terms of some of the work we have to do, I think.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Your forecast today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78. Tonight, clear. Temperatures drop to about 61, and tomorrow another warm day with a high of 82. Let's get a check of the roads with Jim Talamonte.
Good morning, Christy. Good morning, Dan. Things look pretty good right now. The area expressways. We had some delays on the inbound Ryan between 35th and the Stevenson with overnight construction. That's now cleared. The delays are pretty much gone, but at this hour it starts getting heavy anyway, approaching down south. We're seeing a little bit of a buildup between Roosevelt and the Burn Circle. And expect some traffic to build shortly on westbound 190 at O'Hare. Other than that, the roads look pretty good. Now, starting today on the north side, Fullerton goes down to one lane between Damon and Elston, part of that Elston bypass project. So Fullerton, single lane in that area, you'll have some delays. And there's an early morning delay on Metra's Union Pacific North line. This is train 300, running about 20 minutes late right now. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
If your kids haven't started back to school yet, they will be in a matter of days. It's hard to believe, but it's back to school season already. It's here, but for some parents, that's not exactly good news, especially if you're not happy with your child's school or teachers. Maybe it's time to make the switch this year and send your child to a private school. Yeah. You can make that switch for half the price of regular tuition when you visit halfpriceschools.com. At halfpriceschools.com, you'll find dozens of local private schools that are offering vouchers for a full year of tuition at half the price. No catch. It's very simple. Find a school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, and make that school switch. HalfPriceSchools.com has schools located across Chicagoland, including schools in South Holland, Chicago, Orland Hills, Arlington Heights, Lamont, Romeoville, Libertyville, Wheaton, Westchester. The school year is here. Don't wait another day, and don't settle for a public school that isn't right for you and your child. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. That's HalfPriceSchools.com.
Have you wanted to buy a MyPillow? You're in luck. For August only, when you buy one premium MyPillow, you'll still get the second one for free, but you'll also receive 2 additional Go Anywhere MyPillows for free. So you're actually getting 2 premium and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows for the price of only one. It's the best offer ever. Nearly every AM 560 host endorses MyPillow because it's the best. The National Sleep Foundation agrees because they made it their official pillow. It's washable to remove all the ickies that cause allergies, acne, asthma. So it's healthy and you'll sleep better. Visit MyPillow.com. Click the Radio Listener Special tab and use the promo code Joe. You'll get 2 premium MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere for the price of 1. Or you can call 1-800-489-0201. Mention the Radio Listener Special and use the promo code Joe. That's MyPillow.com or 800-489-0201.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
About 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store without having to stop and rest. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy in for Amy this morning. Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board member. And we were just talking during the break to our top newsman, Mike Scott, and he was mentioning a real Black Lives Matter protest about something that's truly genocide, truly horrific. Ethiopian long-distance runner, marathoner, that got the silver medal, protesting the extermination of his people at the hands of his government in Ethiopia, and communicating to the press that the government in Ethiopia has already told him he is not welcome back in Ethiopia, and under threat of death does he come back. So that's real Black Lives Matter. And what about that? What about Black Lives Mattering in Africa? The genocides that this country has stood by and watched. Boy, that's a whole nother issue. One other Olympic story that I had to get to, that's serious business. This is a little bit less serious business, but it's highly entertaining. Did you see this? The end of Sunday's bronze medal wrestling match between Mongolia's Mandekaran Ganzurig, and it's mostly just fun to read these names, versus Uzbekistan's Ikitor Narusov. I think you're mispronouncing that. Not Narusov. No. Maybe the first name. Okay. That's a tough one. That's like an eye chart. The Mongolian was ahead 7-6 with only seconds remaining. but then he began celebrating, backing away from his opponents, which earned him a penalty point as time expired, tying up the match. And since Nurusov, the Uzbekistani, held a tiebreaker advantage, Ganzorik in an instant went from almost certain victory to crushing defeat, no medal. His coaches responded to that referee's decision to inflict the penalty point by disrobing and throwing their clothes on the mat. The Mongolian coaches stripped down to their underwear before they were escorted from the arena by security. And the crowd actually supported the Mongolians. They started chanting, "Mongolia, Mongolia."
I think they were throwing dollar bills as well.
I'll tell you, have you seen the picture of the coaches?
Unfortunately, it's in front of me at this moment, and I don't think he's going to be in a Calvin Klein ad anytime soon.
It gives new meaning to the term Mongolian beef. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Philip, driving. Philip, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, that was a nice attempt at deflecting from Lockheed's blatant racism towards the people of Rio and trying to bring in Mongolia and all these other different African countries with the problems that they have. And the media already deflecting from them. The man just lied on the whole country and lied to the American people, lied to his mother, lied to everybody. But the press wants to say like your host, your guest host, or your co-host just said, oh, he was drunk, or he was always making excuses for white people when they do reprehensible things. Just come out and say it was racism, and he lied.
It was racism.
Come on, get real, get honest.
Okay, thanks for the call, Philip. I know Philip's one of our friends and listening audience who has to look through everything, look at everything through a racial prism. I mean, Ryan Lochte hasn't been covered by the media. Oh my goodness,
he's been humiliated, and rightfully so.
Internationally,
yeah,
obsessed about in the media because this is the kind of salacious story the media loves to cover. Are you kidding me? It had nothing to do with racism. It had to do with a couple of, three, I guess, drunk swimmers and terrible liars lying to his mom. That's racist against the Brazil. I mean, come on, Philip. Good grief. Do we find racism in every story?
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, you've heard me talking about my good friends at Guardian Security Services for a few months now. And if you haven't called them yet, what are you waiting for? If you're unhappy with your door staff or on-site security officers at your gated community or residential high-rise, man, don't tolerate it. And certainly don't renew your contract for 2017. Instead, get a quote from Guardian Security Services. I put my name behind these guys because I love them and I really trust them. They only assign the most professional, highly trained door staff and security officers in all of Chicagoland. Schedule a free security assessment with my friends at Guardian Security Services. Get a contract quote for next year. Right now, call 708-385-3300. That's 708-385-3300. Tell them me, Joe Walsh, sent you, or go online at GuardianSecurityInc.com.
You love to shop, but in order to shop, you need money, which these days can be hard to come by. What if you could earn cash for shopping? Semperfly.info is the ultimate online shopping destination and the leader of online cashback shopping. You'll earn cashback every time you shop online for the products and services you're already buying. You'll get the best coupons and deals available online for thousands of your favorite stores and millions of products with an average 40% off on daily deals. Think of it, over 30 million products at the best prices and 3,500 exclusive products sold nowhere else. You'll be in shopping heaven. You can shop from the comfort of your own home and get paid for it. Plus, the Refer a Friend program allows you to get paid cash for all your friends and family's purchases as well. Start getting paid to shop for the exclusive brands that you already know and trust now at Semperfly.info. That's SEMPERFLY.info. Semperfly.info is an unfranchise of Shop.com, a trusted top 60 internet retailer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up after we check the headlines with Mike Scott at 5:38, President Obama had a lot to say when W was allegedly AWOL from Louisiana, but not much to say when Trump filled in for the president in Louisiana on Friday. We'll discuss, but now let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Kristen, good morning. Good morning, everyone. 64 degrees outside. The U.S. condemning a suicide bombing in southern Turkey that left 51 dead. Donald Trump's new campaign manager says the candidate right now hasn't decided on a forced deportation policy.
Nothing was said yesterday that differs from what Mr. Trump has said previously.
Kellyanne Conway on CNN's State of the Union saying the policy is to be determined. Hillary Clinton's campaign manager says Donald Trump's financial records could reveal deep ties to the Kremlin.
It's clear that they are supporting Donald Trump, but we now need Donald Trump to explain to us the extent to which the hand of the Kremlin is at the core of his own campaign.
Robert Mook alleging Russia has been trying to influence the campaign in Trump's favor. It's all over at the 2016 Summer Olympic Games. Rio Games formally coming to an end with closing ceremonies last night. President Obama's 16-day Martha's Vineyard vacation is over. The president has a busy final 5 months in office, according to his spokesperson, kicking off with a visit to flood-ravaged Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There's still a flood advisory in effect for Baton Rouge, where homeowner Gloria Crum says that community is staying strong.
So glad we're able to pull each other's hand and help each other. One don't have water, the other one does. One don't have gloves, the other one does.
The National Weather Service extends the alert until at least 3 p.m. today after 5 more inches of rain fell in and around Baton Rouge over the weekend. Authorities have lifted all evacuation orders impacting thousands in Southern California after the Blue Cut fire raged through mountainous terrain. An 8-year-old girl and a woman are in stable condition following a shooting on Chicago's west side in the 1600 block of North Major. Chicago Treasurer Kurt Summers reportedly considering a run for Illinois governor. Multiple media outlets adding Summers' name to a list of potential candidates that includes Illinois U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. And Notre Dame head football coach Brian Kelly this morning says he has kicked starting safety Max Redfield off the team and suspended reserve cornerback Devin Butler indefinitely after they were arrested in separate incidents. Sox over Oakland 4-2. Colorado beat the Cubs 11-4. And the news service of Amtrak, great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel with the way it should be. Go from Chicago to New York for $85 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Book now at amtrak.com/saverfares and see where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. 8:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher points out the many differences between Trump and Hillary.
Make no mistake about it. Hillary Clinton wants to punish people who have had financial success. Donald Trump does not. Trump wants to make the business community have more breathing room, have less onerous regulations and taxes. Hillary Clinton does not. But of course, people are all caught up in what the latest bombastic thing Donald Trump said and getting on that whole bandwagon.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Remodel your kitchen with Galaxy. Buy one cabinet and get one free with free financing and design services. Call 773-783-8300.
My name is David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. Stacy wanted to contact a realtor before purchasing a home in Plainfield. Bad move. Not getting pre-qualified by me before talking with the realtor is like sunbathing at the equator without suntan lotion. I pre-qualified Stacy to purchase a home and introduced her to Ron Wexler, my preferred Plainfield realtor. If you're purchasing a home, call me first. I'll pre-qualify you for free and introduce you to my experienced team of preferred realtors who will help you locate the perfect home. My team of real estate experts will always look out for your financial best interest. If you're buying a home, give me a call now at 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. I've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners, but I can't help if you don't call 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. Pearl Mortgage and Equal Housing Lender, Illinois Residential Mortgage License 4358, RMLA, NMLS 19186.
5:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim.
Thanks, Mike. Outbound Stevenson at Ashland, a crash just cleared out of the way. It was blocking the on-ramp from Ashland. And it's a little heavy First Avenue to the Plains River Bridge, about 37 minutes. Lakeshore Drive to 355, inbound 35 minutes, heavy approaching Kedzie. The Edens, Kennedy, and Eisenhower are still fine. Inbound Ryan, got a 4 or 5 minute delay from Cermak into the Burns Circle. The tollways are good. No delays to report in northwest Indiana. Traffic is a service of Back to School Illinois. Back to School Illinois provides school supplies for children in need. You can help by making a donation at any neighborhood currency exchange or at b2si.org. Back to School Illinois, working to improve educational opportunities for Illinois children. b2si.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Sunny and beautiful today. 78 for a high temp. Clear and 61 overnight. 58 officially at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Kristen McCreary of the Chicago Tribune editorial board joining us this morning on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Advanced Planning Advisors, bringing you Smart Money Talk with Mike Moylan and Rob Curvin, Saturday mornings at 6.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Oh, boy, a little Milli Vanilli classic. Blame it on the rain, indeed. Louisiana.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah, very nice. Nice get. Were you more of a Rob guy or more of a Fab person? You know, guy in the generic sense.
Of Milli Vanilli?
Rob and Fab, obviously.
Oh, well, I mean, they were twins. I don't know the difference between them.
Well, they weren't twins.
Weren't they? I thought they were twins. Brothers?
No.
No? Am I thinking of the Nelson brothers, the blonde? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. The Nelsons.
Little mix-up.
Right. Milli Vanilli.
I actually saw the Nelsons in concert.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
How was that concert?
In Rockford. It was great because I went with one of the sons of Cheap Trick. So we had front row seats.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Name dropper.
How about it?
Yeah.
Went over to their house afterward, partied.
Nice juice.
With the Nelson brothers.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Rockford's first daughter.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't know you're from the greater Rockford area.
I am.
And by the way, rest in peace, Fab.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to take it down a notch.
Gosh.
Here.
So depressing.
Yeah. So Louisiana. Donald Trump went down there on Friday. And, boy, it was, this is a photo op. And why isn't President Obama there? Well, he can't be everywhere, Jay Johnson, Department of Homeland Security chief, said. And Hillary Clinton is AWOL, too. She's taken a little bit of a respite. Donald Trump's down there. And Donald Trump came with an 18-wheeler transfer truck full of supplies to help people. And Donald Trump was received quite well.
We knew you'd be here, Mr. Trump.
Here, guys, let's stay together. We're going to get lost in the scrum.
We knew you would be here for us. Glad you aren't playing golf.
Oh, zing.
Whoa.
Glad you aren't playing golf. So President Obama playing golf, but Donald Trump effectively has shamed the president into going to Louisiana tomorrow.
He's going now, yes.
Well, back from his 16-day vacation, Martha's Vineyard. This is all pro forma to believe the White House and to believe his surrogates, including Governor John Bel Edwards of Louisiana, but it isn't. He doesn't want to go down there. And he didn't kind of respond with the urgency of the situation as a commander-in-chief of this kind of the scope of this natural disaster like he would have had this been New Orleans and had this been politically advantageous for him to do. So a lot of people are saying, this is kind of white versus black because it's disproportionately white people that are affected by the flooding in New Orleans, in Louisiana this go around because it's more rural areas. I don't know that it's necessarily white versus black. I just think, what's the political upside for him? I mean, it's not like when he was a United States senator with aspirations for the White House. It's not like when he was a candidate.
He's on vacation, Dan, which reminds me of this quote from Nancy Reagan, who, when she was first lady, said, presidents don't get vacations, they just get a change of scenery. Except for this president, because he likes to take lots of vacations.
He gets real vacations.
But I do have to say, even in that clip, if you watched it when Donald Trump was being, everyone was very enamored with him, he was signing autographs and hats.
Well,
and,
people were asking him to.
Well, I know, but it's not like he was getting down and dirty and moving sandbags or doing anything other than kind of prancing around. Sorry, that's what he was doing. So what does it really matter that he was down there? And initially the governor was saying, we didn't want him to come down. Then he was relieved because it did bring attention to their plight. But again, I mean, is this a big deal when you fly in on your private jet, you sign some autographs, and you turn around and leave?
Well, I mean, what's the standard? The standard set by President Obama when he was a state senator, U.S. senator, and he was speaking from the Senate floor, chiding George W. Bush, president at the time, for allegedly being AWOL during Katrina.
I can say from personal experience over the last week how frustrating it has been, how unconscionable it has been to be unable to find somebody in charge so that we can get medical supplies, doctors, nurses, and other supplies down to the affected areas quickly enough. We're going to have to do some hard thinking about how we could have failed our fellow citizens so badly and how we will prevent such failures from ever occurring again.
That's Senator Barack Obama talking about Katrina. Here's presidential candidate Barack Obama in 2008, hearkening back to Katrina when he's down in Louisiana, demagoguing the matter for his political benefit.
Because when the people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast extended their hand for help, help was not there. When people looked up from the rooftops, for too long they saw an empty sky. When the winds blew and the floodwaters came, we learned that for all of our wealth and our power, something wasn't right with America. We can talk about what happened for a few days in 2005, and we should. We can talk about levees that couldn't hold, about a FEMA that seemed not just incompetent, but paralyzed and powerless, about a president who only saw the people from the window of an airplane instead of down here on the ground, trying to provide comfort and aid.
Yeah, right. It was all so much responsibility of George W. Bush and the flyover story that the media picked up on and just beat to death. You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie, to the FEMA director that the media picked up and beat to death. No beating to death the fact that right now, on Friday, President Obama was at the halfway house while Donald Trump was down in the affected areas. They're describing the disaster that's occurred in Louisiana, but not attributing any responsibility to President Obama for being AWOL, the standard that he set. John Bel Edwards, the governor, was glad Trump came down, as you referenced just a moment ago.
Well, I think, for the reasons that I stated earlier, because it helped to shine a spotlight on Louisiana and on the dire situation that we have here, that it was helpful. And I will tell you that I also appreciated the good phone call, the conversation that I had with Governor Pence, who was sincere and genuine when he called, and we spoke for a long time on Friday morning about their desire to be helpful.
And John Bel Edwards, liberal Democrat, by the way.
Well, can I point out that the Louisiana flooding, it has been described as the worst U.S. disaster since Hurricane Sandy. 13 dead so far. Katrina, 1,833.
It's not just body count. 40,000 homes.
True, and you do have the same imagery of people trapped on their rooftops and the like. But I don't know that I get a little irritated with getting caught up in whether or not a president flies into an event. I don't know. It's not.
To me, that's a different conversation. Does the president have to comment on everything? Does the president have to be at every site when something terrible occurs? I think there are thresholds, and Louisiana probably meets that threshold. But that's a different conversation than saying, here's the standard that was set. And here's this president who comments on everything that's politically advantageous. And before he has the facts, he comments on a Harvard professor getting pulled over by a local police officer, right? When it's politically advantageous to demagogue the race issue. But and you heard what he said during the Bush years and as a presidential candidate. So it's the standard that he set that Trump is now abiding, and the left is saying, what, the president can't be everywhere, and Hillary's taking a nap, and so on and so forth. The standard they set, and then they don't want to abide it.
Well, he is abiding it now. So he has been chastened, and he's going to go visit today, tomorrow? Tomorrow.
Tony on the South Side.
Hey, I just want to point out, again, I'm not a big Trump supporter, but you have lesser two evils. But what I see here is that when Donald went down there, he brought attention to the situation. Whether or not he moved boxes or he made donations or whatever, it's irrelevant. I know it's been going on for a while with New Orleans or with Louisiana, but when he was on TV, it brought more attention to it, so more people are aware of the situation. And I even donated. I said, you know what, I'm going to donate some money to those people. And because Trump went down there, not because he went down there, because it brought attention to the situation. That's all.
There you go. Thanks for the call, Tony. It's a fair point, and it's essentially what Governor Edwards, Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards, said as well. And also, it was reported that Trump made a $100,000 donation to a Baptist church that he visited as well for relief. So, I mean, bringing an 18-wheeler full of supplies, making a $100,000 donation, drawing attention to what's happening, those are all residual benefits to the affected people down there. They were certainly happy to see him, as you heard from that clip earlier. Let's go to Deborah in Palatine. Hey, Deborah.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. When the tornado happened a few years ago in Washington, Illinois, my daughter lived there, still lives in central Illinois. Obama never went to Washington, Illinois. This is his home state. He never went there. And being on the ground and hearing really what goes on, those people, it would have meant a lot to them had he just showed up to show support. He never showed his face.
Thanks for the call, Deborah.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Dan just almost knocked over a lamp in the studio, so...
Very agitated.
Yes, apparently. Today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, clear, dropping down to a low of 61. And tomorrow, another nice, beautiful day, high of 82. Let's get a check of traffic with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Kristen and Dan. The Edens is fine right now. Kennedy inbound clear. Outbound, it's getting a little heavy approaching O'Hare, and there are delays on westbound 190 from the Kennedy to Manheim. About Eisenhower, it's a 2-minute delay from 17th to 1st. Outbound, it's still good. On Stevenson, 37 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Delay started Central. Outbound, it's slow. First Avenue to the Des Plaines River Bridge. On Ryan, delay started 35th, 22 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford, there's a 2-minute delay from 103rd to the merge. Northbound Tri-State heavy, from Reagan Tollway to the Eisenhower. The other tollways are fine for now. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Kristen McQuarrie is going to tell us about her dream, and I'm in it. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Boy. Is overseas uncertainty making a dent in your portfolio? Is your bank telling you that everything's going to be okay? You don't need to feel like your finances are spiraling out of control. It's time to take a different approach with Online Trading Academy. They'll teach you how to navigate the stock market during these changing times and prepare you for future market fluctuations. Online Trading Academy's certified instructors teach you a rules-based strategy. Well, you'll trade on knowledge, not speculation. So you'll be able to identify market changes before they happen. Reserve your seat today for a free half-day training course at their state-of-the-art education facility in Lombard. Call now 877-682-2442. Mention AM560 and you'll receive a free home video study course valued at $247. Call now 877-682-2442. This is Dan Proft with 60 Seconds of Sanity. America's Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles is the best female gymnast in the world. America's Olympic gold medalist Kerry Walsh Jennings is the best female beach volleyball player in the world. But the best moments they've provided during the Rio Games have nothing to do with athletics. Biles' story of triumph includes being raised by her grandparents who adopted her. Yet NBC commentator Al Trautwig carelessly characterized them as not her real parents. The admonishment Trautwig received from viewers for his ignorance forced an apology, but more importantly, raised the issue of adoption as a loving option. I was adopted. My real parents are the ones who sacrificed for me and raised me just as Biles' parents did her, although Biles' parents clearly had more to work with than did mine. In a related story, Kerry Walsh Jennings drew the rebuke of some of the man-hating shrew feminist types for saying, I feel like I was born to have babies and play volleyball. For the left, a woman is not supposed to offer such an homage to motherhood. They must concentrate instead on tearing down the imaginary patriarchy. In a society where sports so impacts culture, the Biles and Walsh Jennings families set the gold standard.
If you have sleep apnea and you're tired of dragging around your big, bulky home CPAP device wherever you travel, what I'm about to tell you may sound too good to be true. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. Even better, you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for a full 10 days. Call us now, 1-800-900-4179. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. It's true. You can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere, anytime you want. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day in-home trial. 1-800-900-4179. That's 1-800-900-4179.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board. I just got a text from this guy who texts me routinely, and he's always, I'm an independent, and then he always flacks for the left. So this story that I just referenced and dismissed, but I'll be explicit about it. John Bel Edwards, the governor of Louisiana, also said, no, I told President Obama to wait until we had done the first response, until we had done the rescues to come in, because I didn't want him to divert our security resources, local security resources, for his personal protection. And so it's all good that President Obama had to be shamed into coming to Louisiana tomorrow while the devastation was obvious and well covered over the last week. And Donald Trump arrives on Friday and Hillary Clinton AWOL. That's John Bel Edwards running interference for the President of the United States. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. The security resources, that is just a cover story from one Democrat governor, who, of course, wants to stay in the good graces of the president for support from the federal government, as well as being a good Democrat foot soldier. That's a cover story. So just spare me that nonsense that this was all choreographed. Then why didn't the White House say that from the beginning? Why didn't you have the Dickensian Josh Earnest come out there and say that from the beginning? This is bootstrapping a story, a rationale, but nice try. By the way, one other thing on Louisiana, evil Walmart to the rescue. Walmart, again, among the large companies in Louisiana, able to keep supply lines open and operations going despite the catastrophe. The company's emergency operations center kicked into high gear late last week as forecast warnings of record rainfall started to roll in. Walmart's got about 30 locations in the affected area, and the spokesman for the company said they had mapped out alternate routes for trucks delivering stores in and around Louisiana. Corporate meteorologists monitored the weather, helped inform the plans. Preparations made to ramp up shipments of essential supplies from bottled water to baby formula to the region as conditions continued to worsen. So just as Walmart was first on the scene in terms of real tactical response units during Katrina, Walmart even further ahead of the game this go around in terms of responding to the humanitarian crisis because of the flooding in Louisiana. And it's just worth noting because we spend so much time in the D.C. press corps and the liberal media just generally obsessing about Walmart and wages and evil corporation and livable wage and all this sort of stuff. And when people are in crisis, very much in the spirit in which Sam Walton founded the company, Walmart is first on the scene.
And probably doing more than some organizations that we read about. I don't know if I should name them, but some charities that a lot of people donate to during times like this.
Like Red Cross?
Red Cross, who spend a lot of time driving around, handing out, sandwiches and handing, one Passover of a bottle of water counts as a contact that, they can say they saved a life. And then you find out, really, actually, a lot of the money they raise is spent on administrative salaries and flying people in to stay in nice hotels. So this is on the ground Walmart helping and also kicking in a couple $1 million.
And let me tell you something else about Walmart, too, from our friend Mark Perry at Carpe Diem blog. More than 75% of Walmart's current store managers started out working for the company as hourly associates, and now they earn annual salaries between $50,000 and $170,000. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon, he's 49 years old. He started out as a summer associate at a distribution center in 1984 when he was 22 years old in college, getting minimum wage. Now he makes $20 million. That's called upward mobility. That's how you get an entry-level job and work your way up to being self-sustaining, independent, and vital to the nation.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by, making minimum payments? You should know the credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a large portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-518-4020. 800-518-4020. 800-518-4020.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
Is Trump's third act about to begin? We'll discuss at 6:06, but now let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Kristen, here are the stories we're watching this morning. An 8-year-old girl and a woman shot on Chicago's west side. We'll get the latest on a teen shot and wounded by a state trooper in Chicago after that trooper's life was threatened. 9 people hurt after a car crashes into a Chicago restaurant. Police are investigating an alleged sexual assault at the University of Illinois. Rockies rout the Cubs while the White Sox top the A's. A sunny and beautiful day ahead. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. One governor set to announce he's following through on a pledge to restore voting rights to convicted felons, denying it has anything to do with politics. Fox Radio's John Decker is live at the White House.
Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe is expected to restore voting rights to thousands of convicted felons in a move that political analysts say may provide a boost to Hillary Clinton in the November election. McAuliffe, a Democrat with close ties to the Clintons, will announce that he's restored voting rights to 13,000 convicts on a case-by-case basis. In April, the Virginia Supreme Court invalidated McAuliffe's executive order that restored voting rights to more than 200,000 felons after Republicans argued the governor had overstepped his authority. Lisa?
Thanks, John. President Obama, just back from the First Family's 2-week vacation, will head tomorrow to Baton Rouge, where thousands remain in shelters after a week of deadly flooding.
More than 60,000 homes have been damaged and destroyed, while 100,000 survivors have registered for federal aid. The number of people currently living in shelters is slowly decreasing, although many are now living in hotels and with relatives.
Fox Business Network's Dagan McDowell, a storm system that dumped heavy rain on parts of Texas is expected to hit parts of Louisiana. Big progress on one of 6 California wildfires. A fire east of L.A. where more than 100 homes were destroyed is now 85% contained. Nearly 50 more structures destroyed in central California, where Hearst Castle, a National Historic Landmark, is among the areas still threatened.
We now have the Hearst Contingency Group. So we have resources here, firefighters and firefighting equipment, doing some pre-planning here in the Hearst area.
CAL FIRE's Amber Anderson, crews in neighboring Washington state meantime battling a trio of new fires that erupted yesterday around Spokane. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Skies are clear. We have 63 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. An 8-year-old girl and another woman, stable condition, according to reports this morning, following a shooting on the west side of Chicago. The pair shot last night in the 1600 block of North Major. Chicago police tell us no one is in custody. Illinois State Police say a trooper shot and wounded a teen boy inside a fleeing stolen vehicle. State police say the vehicle was reported stolen at gunpoint early on Saturday. Trooper later spotted that vehicle and tried to pull it over. The vehicle sped away but was eventually caught in traffic at the northbound Chinatown feeder. Police say when troopers approached that stopped vehicle, the driver tried to flee again and then tried to run over one of the troopers, who then feared for his life and fired into the vehicle. One of the suspects inside the vehicle later arrived at a hospital with multiple but non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. More than 1,000 residents of a Northwest Indiana public housing complex have been left in a state of panic and uncertainty since authorities informed them last month their home must be destroyed because of serious lead contamination. Warning went out earlier this summer, you may recall, to not allow kids to play in the dirt or wash toys because the soil is soaked with lead at the West Calumet housing complex in East Chicago. Tainted soil problems have dogged that complex since at least 2012. United Airlines begins seasonal service between Key West and Newark Liberty Airport and Chicago O'Hare. According to a statement released, United will be the only airline to offer daily nonstop service to Key West from New York and then from Chicago on Saturdays from January 7th to April 29, 2017. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. Colorado bested the Cubs 11-4. The Bears had 20 sit out of camp yesterday as they rested up during workouts at Hallis Hall on Sunday. The news service of Bank of America. Get where you're going and earn 3% cash back on gas along the way with the Bank Americard Cash Rewards Credit Card. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/getcashback. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On September 26th, it's the first presidential debate between Trump and Clinton. And AM 560 is throwing our biggest debate watch party yet. Join us to watch Donald take on Hillary. Round 1. It's debate night in America. Monday, September 26th in Hoffman Estates at America's Bar. Watch a live broadcast of the Joe Walsh Show, followed by Trump versus Clinton. Tickets are just $10 and include an all-you-can-eat buffet. Get your tickets at 560theanswer.com/debate. Sponsored by Best Dental Group.
It's National Make-A-Will Month at LegalZoom.com, so it's time to take care of your will or trust. LegalZoom makes it easy. They're not a law firm, so there's no office visits or paying expensive hourly rates. Instead, you could save over $100 with LegalZoom's will or trust estate plan bundles. And if you don't know whether a will or trust is right for you, don't worry. You'll work with an independent attorney available in 48 states to get advice on what you need. Do the right thing this month at LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom.com.
Thousands of people are choosing the flexibility of working when they want, driving with Uber. You'll control your day, plus be able to start earning right away just by driving your own car.
I've got 2 kids. They're both in summer camp, and I'll drop them off. Then I turn on the Uber app, the ride requests come in, and I'm earning extra money. Working when I want, being my own boss. Driving with Uber is definitely the best option for me.
Earn the extra money you need on your schedule. Get started today. Sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
6:06. Let's get an update on the roads. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. It's slow going on the Kennedy outbound from Central most of the way to O'Hare. It's about 32 minutes downtown to the airport. Tack on delays on westbound 190 as well. It's slow from the Kennedy to Manhunt. Inbound, just a 2-minute delay coming out of the River Road toll to Cumberland. The Edens is still fine. Inbound Eisenhower, slow Manheim to First. 36 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, outbound 29. Stevenson is 43 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 5 at 34. Ryan, 28 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford, a little heavy at the merge. Traffic is a service of Accountemps. When it comes to hiring top accounting and finance professionals, Accountemps has your business covered. As the leader in specialized temp staffing, Accountemps delivers highly skilled temporary employees when you need them. Call today or visit accountemps.com. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Holly Holdren.
Mostly sunny today, high 78, mainly clear tonight, low 61. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny with a high of 82, becoming breezy and humid on Wednesday with a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and a high of 80. I'm Holly Holdren on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 58 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Lou Bridges Show. Get foreclosure defense solutions that may save your home. Saturday mornings at 8 on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
We knew you'd be here, Mr. Trump. Glad you are playing golf.
It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities. At what point do we say enough?
You're saying Donald Trump is a puppet for the Kremlin?
Well, real questions are being raised about that.
What I'm trying to get at is the first version of the story you told Ryan was much more about the mean streets of Rio.
Yeah, I over-exaggerated that story.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, Hillary Clinton, at least according to a Washington Post piece over the weekend, she's measuring the drapes over at the White House, laying plans for her White House agenda. She's mapping out her first 100 days because this campaign's over. Well, meanwhile, Donald Trump was in Louisiana on Friday, as we were discussing at the end of last hour, and he was in Michigan over the weekend, had a number of things to say, and he basically reiterated over the weekend what he said in Wisconsin, West End, Wisconsin, earlier in the week, coming off the unrest and rioting in Milwaukee after that police-involved shooting the weekend before last. And he's doubling down on this focus on urban decay. And it's a very interesting choice he's making. It kind of dovetails with his law and order message, which he started out with.
Law and order will be restored, and the poorest places in our country will know safety and peace again.
And then he made this explicit appeal to African-American voters, as he did in Wisconsin.
No group in America has been more harmed by Hillary Clinton's policies than African Americans. No group. No group. If Hillary Clinton's goal was to inflict pain on the African American community, she could not have done a better job. It's a disgrace. Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future.
If you want people to come to your party, you have to invite them. Trump's inviting African American families to consider Trump for president.
He is. I'm not confident that it will be effective. If you look at what Romney was able to attract from the black vote, I think it was something along the lines of 6%.
He's not running against Barack Obama.
I know. And there was greater turnout among black registered voters in the last election than registered white voters. But, I mean, we've seen this. You used to run campaigns in the South suburbs where you can have black Republicans on the ballot trying to run against black Democrats. And it's just fatal. The R next to their name is just, it's a fatal flaw. there doesn't seem to be a lot of connecting the dots of what these policies have meant for this population. And they've remained so loyal to the Democratic Party. And you don't have to trust Trump on this. You can look at the blacks who are fleeing Chicago. Between 2014 and 2015, more than 9,000 black residents left Cook County. And since 2010 in the Chicago area, we have lost more than 35,000 black residents. Those are the sturdy middle-class black families who have the means to leave, and they are leaving. So you don't have to believe us. There is proof that the policies and the crime and the education system and all the promises that the Democrats have made, they're not working.
In Chicago, the reason Chicago's at its lowest population level since 1920, to your point, is because of the flight of black families.
Right.
That's real. And, to his other points about the schools and urban centers and so forth, I mean, Bill Bennett, when he was education secretary during the Reagan years, came to Chicago, visited Chicago. This is 30 years ago now. And he said then, the Ku Klux Klan could not design a system more destructive to minority children than the Chicago public school system. He was right then. He is right today. What has changed in 30 years for those people that are trapped in Chicago and who are discriminated against based on their household income and their address? Has 30 more years of Chicago Democrat rule improved their lives across any quality of life metric? Well, the answer is obviously no. And everybody knows that because everybody has the same lament. And yet there is this, as you suggested, Stockholm syndrome that afflicts African-American voters where they identify with their captor.
They do. And the way that Democratic politicians interact with this community is just so interesting to me because the finest example of the failure, in my opinion, or one of the most recent of late, was the Neighborhood Recovery Initiative that Pat Quinn rolled out in the months leading up to his 2010 election, where he threw $55 million, supposedly to reduce violence on the south and west sides in Chicago. They sprinkle the money around. A lot of that money went to pay kids to march with him in the Bud Billiken parade.
Yeah.
It went to the Woodlawn organization, who spent all this money on gift cards. I mean, this is what Democratic politicians, this is how they help the black community. And it's just, it turned out to be a federal investigation into this program because $55 million, can you imagine what a good nonprofit could have done with that money? But that is how they just throw money at this population and think that that's going to solve all the problems. And
they don't think it's going to solve problems. This is just a way to keep them beholden. It's to sprinkle the infield. That they know they'll settle for table scraps because they're in such desperate straits. And, so I've got a gift card or I got a check or I've got money being thrown at my pastor in my neighborhood. And so that's more than Republicans are doing, where we're talking about kind of structural reforms of how we do city government, of how we do social services, of how we do welfare programs. And, that's more complicated because there is a fierce need, but that need can be met in the short term when you partner for a real solution in the medium term. And that there doesn't seem to be a willingness to hold those who've destroyed their neighborhoods and families accountable. And that's the question that Trump is asking.
It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities. At what point do we say enough?
At what point do we say enough? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. Trump went on to, again, make the overture to those who probably, many of whom have never voted Republican in their life and may not be inclined to at present.
Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? 312-642-5600. Here's the thing. this isn't about winning Detroit. I mean, let's just be honest. This is, and I don't denigrate Trump for this line of argumentation, for this focus. I think it's appropriate. I think it's good because it generates a conversation that we need to continue to have. It needs to be perpetual until there is a watershed moment in big cities like Chicago and Detroit, Milwaukee, and so on. But the audience isn't black voters in Detroit or Chicago or Milwaukee. He's not going to win 20 and 30 and 40% of the black vote like he's, hyperbolically suggested. The audience is whites in the suburbs, because whites in the suburbs want to feel good about themselves. They don't want to be called racist. They want people to believe that they care about black families and those that are, that do not have the same opportunities that they have. They feel bad about it. They empathize. And that's good. That's fine. You should care about your fellow man. But because of what the left does, particularly with suburban white women, you get that kind of guilty conscience. You get a little bit of emoting, and you kind of feel rather than think about what's actually happened. And that gets people to do things like vote for Rahm Emanuel and vote for big government leftist policies, because we think like, well, if I'm voting for a government program, then I'm doing something about it. If I'm voting for the person that is gushing the most about those trapped in a generational poverty in the city, well, then I'm on board with the struggle. Then I'm doing my part. And so the audience isn't really the inner cities in these discussions. The audience is suburban whites.
But I think it's a conversation that has not really been discussed nationally when you look at the cities. We talk about it in Chicago. We talk about it all the time. I mean, the teachers, get ready. They're about to go on strike because they're so mad at their government for not properly funding their pension system. They took a 10-year holiday, the CPS did. Who runs CPS? Who does CTU back in all of these campaigns to elected office? Democrats. So it's just any policy failure that you want to look at in the city, you have to just turn the coin, because it is due to Democratic policies. And they're unwilling to, even in some of these jobs deserts on the south and west sides, even entertain the idea of some of the ideas that somebody like Bruce Rauner has pushed, a right-to-work zone that is locally approved that might attract businesses to these areas that haven't had economic development in 20 years. And yet you still will have resistance from a Democratic body like the city council to even, try something new.
The big government policies are predatory. They destroy people. So the people that think they're helping by continuing to support the same policies, whereby so many individuals in our urban centers are wholly owned subsidiaries of the state, they're de facto servants of the state, because their lodging and their food and their income and their education, to the extent it's, you could call in many respects what they have access to, education, and it's all provided by the state. So, and the state destroys. The state destroys. You cannot outsource being your brother's keeper to the state. And if 60 years of experimentation hasn't proven that, then I don't know what kind of evidence people need to open up, to have the scales fall from their eyes. Your colleague, Kristen, John Cass, writes in the Chicago Tribune over the weekend, "We've created government systems that maintain human beings in poverty and ignorance so that politicians can count on their votes, and that's a crime against morality. Blame is assessed and pressed like a hot iron into the flanks of the rich or of corporations and others with means, a moronic and frightening misunderstanding of how jobs created." When you hear the left use words like empowerment and investment and social infrastructure and social justice. Cass goes on to say, "What isn't discussed enough when riots happen and neighborhoods burn is the one thing most common to all these decaying urban tinderboxes. They're run by Democrats. Baltimore, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit. For decade after decade, Democrats have controlled policy and politics in the broken cities. This is the proof of Democrat success. The broken schools have been run for Democrats by decades. The broken institutions are run by Democrats. The political corruption in these cities is Democratic corruption, where government is the hammer used to beat others into forking over their cash. But they, meaning voters, have made the terrible mistake in thinking that the strong arm of government is the answer. It isn't, and it never was." Back with your calls after this.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Your forecast today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, clear. Temperatures drop to about 61. And tomorrow, another sunny, beautiful day, high of 82. Let's get a check of roads with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Kristen and Dan. Good morning. Kennedy outbound. It's stop and go from Montrose to O'Hare. 35 minutes downtown to the airport. It's also slow in addition on westbound 190 from the Kennedy to Manhunt. Inbound, Kennedy just 22 minutes O'Hare to downtown. Eden's a little heavy inbound approach in the junction. Outbound, it's fine. Inbound Eisenhower. Delays start at Wolf Road. It's 44 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 30. Stevenson is 44 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound, it's fine at 34. Ryan, 30 minutes now from 95th to downtown. 557 at Bishop Ford, pretty light. Northbound Tri-State, stop and go from Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-900-2502. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-900-2502. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-900-2502. That's 1-800-900-2502.
Welcome to Move Time Radio, presented by the Arthritis Foundation. And we're smack dab in the middle of our dance-a-thon to fight arthritis pain. Me, I've been grooving for 10 hours straight, baby, but I'm a boogie machine. See, movement is just one of the ways to help fight osteoarthritis pain. Another is weight loss. You get rid of just 1 pound. That's 4 pounds of pressure off each knee. For more information on managing pain, visit fightarthritispain.org. Then meet me on the dance floor. This message brought to you by the Arthritis Foundation and the Ad Council.
Mike Rowe here with a quick IAQ test from my buddy Bill.
Wait, I didn't study.
IAQ stands for Indoor Air Quality, something 1 hour excels at.
Well, I aced my SATs, so...
Yes or no? Do you breathe inside your home?
Yeah.
And what do you breathe?
Air.
And what's in that air?
Air?
Sorry, we were looking for dust mites, household pollutants, even formaldehyde.
Wait, I need to move.
Or you could call 1 hour and improve your IAQ.
That sounds smarter.
Let's see how you do with the disclaimer.
Each independent franchise is licensed in its respective state or county.
Not bad.
Did you know that if you have mutual funds in your IRA, 401k, or investment accounts, that according to Forbes magazine, you could be paying as much as 3.17% in hidden fees every single year? 3.17% may not sound like much, but over 10 years, it's costing you 32%, whether your fund is up or down. Hi, it's Tom Fortino of the Alpha Wealth Group in Chicago and host of the Alpha Wealth Hour on AM 560. This is just one of the reasons I hate mutual funds, and you should too. You may not know this, but you have far more investment options today without the excessive fees. Learn what they are in my free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds. What you learn may shock you. To get your free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds, call 630-519-4742. There's no obligation. That's 630-519-4742.
Investment advisory services. Offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc.
Based on actual cases, results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. Have you received a letter or personal visit from the IRS? Has the IRS garnished your paycheck or seized your bank account? If so, you need to take action now. You're a target of the most powerful collection agency in the world, and you need representation you can trust. Don't get scammed by imitators and telemarketers' high-pressure tactics. At Wall & Associates, they develop trust with their clients through a free face-to-face consultation. They've saved their clients over $129 million in the past 5 years. Call 1-800-983-5313 now for your free face-to-face consultation. Ignoring your tax problem will only make it worse. Call 1-800-983-5313 to get immediate help. With over 30 years of experience, Wall & Associates has helped thousands of taxpayers, and they can help you. Call now, 1-800-983-5313. 800-983-5313. wallandassociates.net.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board, and we're talking about Trump's remarks in Diamondale, Michigan over the weekend about our urban centers, John Cass's column. Also, this with respect to African-American voters. Common, the rapper from Chicago.
Not familiar.
You don't know Common?
I'm sorry.
What are you talking about? He's flipped over and became an actor, too. He's been in a bunch of movies.
I don't know.
No good movies, but he's been in a bunch of movies. Common says Trump will take America back to the slave days. America wouldn't be taking a step back. We'd be taking 12 steps back if Trump becomes president, said the Chicago rapper in an interview with Newsweek. It would be returning to some of the mentality of racism we've seen in the mid-'60s and the civil rights era. It would be returning to some of the actual racism that existed in slave days. And also related story, people attending a Trump fundraiser in Minneapolis on Friday were attacked by protesters outside, punching people that attended, were the protesters yelling effing racists at the protesters. This is maybe why it's hard to break through and have an intelligent discussion about what's happening in inner cities. Common from Chicago. You want to talk about who's been the head of Chicago for the last 100 years? Who's been ruling Chicago and how that's worked out? Sis on the South Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning to you both. How are you?
Good morning.
Dan, first, I went out to meet the governor yesterday over and gave my card. I want to meet you all. The Democratic, the blacks in Chicago alone will show you that we're so mad and angry at the Democratic Party. They've done us like dogs. Republicans have to do one simple thing with black people.
Okay.
Black people are against gay marriage. Black people are against less government. We haven't benefited by government. We get those food stamps and their housing. They gave it to us and they took it back to education. It's going in a different direction. The Republicans are about taking care of your family. Black people are too. Abortion. Black people are against abortion. And black people are with the Second Amendment. We just got to simply tell them, Dan, I'm walking around every day as one of the spokesmen here's something interesting about me, Dan. I was involved in the black movement in 1967 as an 11-year-old kid. It was called the Wall of Respect and the Wall of Truth. And next year would be my 50th year of watching this dirty Democratic Party, Bill Dawson, take our black people to the Democratic, that dirty daily machine, and used our people like dogs. So he can't just say a line. He's got to get out here. He's got to come over to Inglewood. He's got to come over to Woodlawn where we're dying at. He's got to just shake hands and meet some of them mamas, some of them grandmamas that's taking care of these kids. And the Republican Party is going to take us 10 years, Dan, to really show 10 to 15% consistently black people. We know we're getting screwed. You guys don't. That lady, she's smart. I don't know who she is. But we know we're getting screwed by the Democratic Party.
Thanks for the call, Sis. Thanks, appreciate it. Sandra in Chicago. Hi, Sandra.
Hello.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
Hi, Sandra. You're on. You're on.
Oh, hi. I don't think that the government is screwing black people. Blacks treat each other the worst. I live in the communities, and I see it, and I'm tired of blacks making excuses. I was raised in public housing, and everyone that I saw there had multiple children by multiple men that had no future, and that's where it starts. Why do you bring children into this world and you know you cannot take care of them? That's where the problem starts.
Thanks for the call, Sandra.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
We're the 32-year-old company whose first employee and first client are still working together. Hi, Tom Sadeka, CEO of Precision Payroll of America. If you are like me and are listening to this station, chances are we hold some common values and truths we hold self-evident. That's the main reason Precision Payroll attracts great clients and great employees. Precision Payroll of America operates at the core with fundamental principles that drive our attitude and delivery of service. We work hard to provide the best in pricing and value. In addition, with our great great team that has been with us a long time, you are ensured a lasting relationship with people who understand your needs and always stand ready to serve. What sets us apart is that we view what we do as a great opportunity to serve others in a professional and technical capacity while building long-lasting relationships. That's what we treasure. If this message hits home, please call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507 or on the web at precisionpayroll.com.
Hey, looking to secure financing on a new home or refinance your existing home? Then you need to do what I did, and that's call my very good friend David Hochberg. Harry unexpectedly came home for lunch and was surprised to find the personal trainer's van in the driveway. Oh, I can't stand this ad. Because his wife, Debbie, worked out in the morning. Harry heard noises in the basement and went downstairs to let his wife know he was home and found Debbie and the personal trainer in a compromising situation. On his way up the stairs, Harry contacted a divorce attorney who recommended he call David to discuss refinancing the home into his name and removing Debbie and the trainer from title when the divorce was final. Hey, if you're a divorce attorney looking for an outstanding lender to refer your clients or a homeowner that caught their spouse cheating on them and want to learn all about your financing options, call David Hochberg now. 312-751. I really do love David Hochberg. 1333 or visit am560david.com. David helped me and thousands of my listeners, but he can't help if you don't call. 312-751-1333 or visit Quit Laughing Joe or visit am560david.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Chicago Tribune editorial board member Kristen McQuarrie. And coming up after we check the headlines with Mike Scott at 6:36. Remember that big announcement about the Clinton Foundation is going to change their ways if Hillary's elected? Yeah, actually, you got to read the fine print. We'll have it. Now let's go to Mike Scott.
Dan and Kristen, we have 58 degrees right now. U.S. condemning a suicide bombing in southern Turkey that left 51 dead. President Barack Obama traveling to flood-damaged Louisiana tomorrow, but there, Governor John Bel Edwards wants the president to delay that trip until the initial disaster response is over and recovery efforts have begun. Firefighters are battling fast-moving wildfires in eastern Washington state near Spokane. The extent of the loss is unclear this morning. Russia has put the brakes on launching airstrikes from a Syrian airbase or on Syria from a base in Iran. Hours earlier, Iran criticized Russia for announcing the use of the Iranian base as a kind of show-off and ungentlemanly. Firefighters are battling fast-moving blazes in Washington state. We told you about that. We also want to update you on a story that's developing from overnight where an 8-year-old girl and a woman are in stable condition. Following a shooting on the west side of Chicago, police say the pair was shot last night in the 1600 block of North Major. Authorities tell us this morning no one is in custody. The Illinois Department of Corrections says 6 officers have been injured by inmates at a maximum security prison. Nicole Wilson with the Department of Corrections says the officers were treated for injuries that are not life-threatening after the incident Sunday at the Pontiac Correctional Center. Illinois State Police say a 17-year-old girl has been arrested in the weekend stabbing of a 16-year-old girl at the Illinois State Fair. It happened near the Carnival area. State Police described the incident as isolated. The 10-day fair ended its run last night. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. Colorado beat the Cubs 11-4. Alabama keeps rolling, tied number 1 in the AP preseason top 25 college football poll. The news service of Bank of America want cash back at Costco, Sam's Club, and BJ's today. Use your Bank Americard Cash Rewards Visa credit card to earn 2% cash back at wholesale clubs. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/getcashback. 6:36 is our time. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Looking for an employment position or a career change in McHenry or Kane County? Contact Express Employment Professionals. 815-788-8556.
This is Terry Greeno. My company is Express Employment Professionals. If you want to get a new position in McHenry or Kane County, we are your connection. We did it 425,000 times last year. We are the go-to company for employment. Make a change and get a position that is rewarding and fulfilling. We know the companies in this area, and we know how to match you with a position that's a good fit for you. It's simple. We put great companies and great people together. We have the companies, now we need you. Contact us. Get more information at expresshires.com.
Contact the go-to company, the one that specializes in employment positions in McHenry and Kane County. Contact Express Employment Professionals, 815-788-8556. 815-788-8556.
Remodel your kitchen with Galaxy. Buy one cabinet and get one free with free financing and design services. Call 773-783-8300.
Mike Rowe here for 1 hour. Today, Chuck is jogging in place to make a point about energy efficiency.
I thought I was training for a marathon.
He's been at it now for...
3 minutes.
And already he's wearing out.
I'm not.
Your heating and air conditioning systems are a lot like Chuck.
Warm yet somehow cool.
Wheezing, wasting energy, and probably headed for replacement.
You're talking about the air systems, right?
Sure, pal. Sure. Call 1 hour before it's too late.
Can you do the disclaimer for me?
Each independent franchise is licensed in its respective state or county.
Thanks.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 800-98-STEEL. 800-98-STEEL. That's 800-987-8335.
It is 6:38 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Mike, the Edens runs 23 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 19. The Kennedy now 30 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 48 minutes. It's 20 to get to Montrose. The Eisenhower looking at 48 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, outbound 40. The Stevenson really heavy. Harlem to Kedzie. It is an hour. 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. 50 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound 35 minutes to 3:55. Ryan 30 minutes. 95th to downtown. Outbound 17. Crash in the express lanes, blocking two right lanes at 47th. Traffic is a service of Accountemps. As the leader in specialized temporary staffing for accounting and finance professionals, Accountemps can quickly match your business and employment needs with highly skilled temporary specialists when you need them. Call today or visit Accountemps.com. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next with your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Sunny and beautiful. High of 78 today. Currently 59. Next news coming up at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Kristen McCreary of the Chicago Tribune editorial board joining us this morning on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Real Estate Revealed with Randy Barcella. Heard each and every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 560 The Answer.
Don't miss Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan. And in for Amy this morning is Kristen McQuarrie, she of the Chicago Tribune editorial board. And Kristen, I always enjoy having you sub for Amy for two reasons, and in no particular order of importance.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
One is your perspicacious insights into the human condition.
Of course, yes.
And the other,
more importantly,
not equal. The other is because you brought cinnamon rolls.
Yes, I always bring food. I can't go 4 hours without eating. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Well, neither can I, as you know, my morbid obesity so indicates. So speaking of morbid obesity, Hillary Clinton. No. People, come on, please. Hillary Clinton this week, busy schedule, not going to Louisiana, as far as we know. But she is on a little fundraising tour with all her Hollywood friends. Leo DiCaprio. Thank you, Leo, as Al Gore would say. Magic Johnson, Jimmy Buffett, all hosting fundraisers for Hillary Clinton during her 3-day, 8-fundraiser trip to California. August 22nd, Clinton will headline a top dollar fundraiser at the Beverly Hills home of Cheryl and Chaim Sabin, the billionaire owner of Univision. Oh, so there you go. Yeah, remember that when you hear about Univision coverage and reporters and so forth. Clinton and her aides then head down the street to Magic Johnson's place, and then they go over to Bob Iger's place. Bob Iger, the CEO of Walt Disney Company. And then Marilyn and Jeff Katzenberg, CEO of DreamWorks.
Wow, this feels like a pub crawl.
Yeah, well, a pub crawl that where you rake in millions of dollars, and then of course DiCaprio. So that's great for her. So while Trump was down in Louisiana, Hillary Clinton was resting up for her foray into fundraising in California with all her Hollywood celebs. Isn't that fun?
Wow, that's quite an agenda.
It is. But, you know, the thing is that this race is over, isn't it? Is this race over? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. We better figure it out because voting starts in 3 weeks in some states like North Carolina, which is a swing state.
And where she's pulling ahead, correct?
Yeah, it's basically a statistical dead heat, but it's she's a couple of points up, I think, in terms of the average in North Carolina. By the way, survey over the weekend from the LA Times, the LA Times track, had Trump up 2 points. Ryan Priebus said this thing is going to be a dead heat by Labor Day. It's a dead heat already nationally. Of course, nationally it doesn't matter. Trump is still down in or tied effectively in all of the swing states, so he's got some work to do. But the Washington Post reporting over the weekend, Hillary Clinton's increasingly confident campaign has begun crafting a detailed agenda for her presidency with plans focusing on measures aimed at creating jobs, boosting infrastructure, all her big government gambits, by the way. Boy, I tell you what, measuring the drapes in August. I like it. If you're a Trump fan, you've got to love this story because you want them to be as arrogant and as complacent as possible.
Well, I mean, he has signified his nervousness as well with his campaign shakeup, and he does react to the polls. I mean, all Trump talked about for the first, year of this campaign was what poll he was winning at. So I do think he got jarred by her pulling ahead in Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Colorado. That can't happen.
And expanding leads in places like Virginia and Pennsylvania. Right. No, this is an issue, and he hasn't been talking much about polls of late. Maybe he'll be able to do so again if he has the next 10 weeks be as good as the last 2 weeks have been in terms of focused on substantive messaging and turning people's attention to her and what the Democrats have and have not done. And then there's this. Remember a pronouncement last week, trying to put this Clinton Foundation matter behind them. If Hillary wins, then, the Clinton Foundation's going to stop taking foreign donations and, basically almost shut down. It seemed to be the implication.
Not exactly. Not exactly.
You want to read the fine print when you're talking about the Hillbilly House of Cards folks because they like to parse. They're very good at parsing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Reuters had this, that representatives of the charities, charities. Representative of the charities on Friday confirmed that the new guidelines that they announced, the guidelines that they would no longer receive donations from foreigners or corporations if Clinton wins the election in November. The guidelines would only apply to a small portion of the foundation's activities, including its work on climate change and some of its work on economic development. The authorities, or charities, also pointed out that the foreign arm of the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Justra Enterprise Partnership up there in Canada, also not subject to the foundation's latest announcement on donation limitations. So in case you thought that were she president, she would not leverage the White House the same way she leveraged the Secretary of State's office to enrich the foundation as the means to continue to enrich herself and Bill, rest assured, she is going to. She will continue to do it.
I can't believe that this was really, I mean, I understand now that we have more light shed upon her emails and the relationship with the foundation and her role as Secretary of State, but are you kidding me that you're going to have essentially the first husband or whatever, if she is elected, continue to raise money from Saudi Arabia, Ukraine?
Are you suggesting
Qatar,
there's some kind of conflict?
Kuwait, Algeria? It's so bizarre to me that the press they keep referring to the whole foundation issue with her as like an Achilles heel. It's this little thing that just keeps, yipping at her ankles as she tries to run for president. This is a big deal. And the fact that the press is like, oh, well, don't worry. Here's breaking news. This whole system is going to shut down once elected. Really? That was in doubt that they were going to? I mean, that just sounds cuckoo puck.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in doubt. They are not going to.
They're not right. They'd like to set the record straight that they are not.
And it is a political problem, which is why it demands the Trump campaign's attention so that they can focus the American people's attention on it. If you want your White House for sale with the hillbillies, the hillbilly house of cards there, then that's what you're going to get. And evidence of this and the concern comes from none other than Ben Cardin. He's a nondescript, fungible United States Senator from Maryland, big liberal. But when Ben Cardin is saying they would have to change their ways, that's something, because you're not going to get a bigger in-the-tank Hillary supporter than Ben Cardin.
Now, with Hillary Clinton being elected president, which we hope it will be, they clearly need to change the way they do business. And they've indicated they will. They're not going to accept any donations from foreign entities. They're going to change the way that the Clintons themselves interact with the foundation. Those decisions will be appropriate to Hillary Clinton as president of the United States.
Yeah, just like she was going to change her ways, and the hillbilly house of cards was going to change the way Clinton Inc. operated when she was elevated to Secretary of State. Same thing. How'd that work out?
And can you find? I would love to see They had to disclose a lot of their activities. The foundation, I think, in 2008. Where are they spending all this money?
And then they had to edit those disclosures and edit them again and edit them again. $50 million in travel.
Well,
travel-related expenses.
$2 billion raised total. And it looks like they did do, I'm not saying they didn't do good work. They were able to negotiate cheaper drug prices for people suffering from HIV, climate change. But what exactly, where exactly is this money going, and how invested are they in the programs that they're funding? I've researched it. It's hard to figure out exactly where all this money has gone.
And related story, we talked about this last week, a Navy sailor, Christian Saucier, who took pictures of a nuclear propulsion system, and he tried to use the Hillary defense to seek probation for the charge of unauthorized retention of defense information, classified information. He got sentenced to a year in prison. So the Hillary defense didn't work for him.
It didn't. And it was a photograph, right?
Photographs that he kept,
mm-hmm.
that he retained. You're not allowed to retain them. Classified information. A year in prison for him. Former Navy SEAL wrote a book about his role in the raid that on Abbottabad, where Osama bin Laden was killed. It's going to pay the government more than $6.6 million for violating non-disclosure agreements and publishing without getting the document cleared by Defense Department, according to federal court documents. This is Matt Bissonet's book, No Easy Day. It was written under the pseudonym Mark Owen. He's going to give the government all the profits and royalties from the book or movie rights, and he was wrong. He did not abide the non-disclosure agreement to have the Defense Department check the book before he published it, so he was wrong, and he's paying a penalty. So he's paying $6.6 million for being wrong, and the Navy sailor and breaking an NDA, and the Navy sailor is going to prison for a year for illicitly keeping photos of a nuclear propulsion system that he should not have kept, and Hillary Clinton is running for president. Oh, we'll take your calls after this.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Your forecast today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, clear. Temperatures drop to a low of 61. And tomorrow, another lovely day, high of 82. You got to hit the beach, but no thongs. Dan Proft, you got to keep your thong under wraps. Now we'll get a check of traffic with Jim Talamonte.
You got to flaunt it.
Thank you, Kristen and Dan. Good morning. Eden's inbound heavy starting at 2E, 27 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound fine at 19. The Kennedy, now 37 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. 21 from Montrose, 11 on the Express. Outbound 55 minutes downtown to the airport. The Eisenhower is now 58 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 40. Stevenson, an hour and 8 minutes. 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. 55 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound 42 minutes to 3:55. Line is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Outbound 20, crash at 47th. Two right express lanes are blocked. Northbound Tri-State slow 111th to 87th. From the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis, very slow from Roosevelt to Grand Avenue. I'm Jim Talamonte of the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
I'm Keith Peters in for Lou Dobbs. The high cost of Louisiana flooding, how strong hiring in swing states impacts campaign 2016, and new Zika threats in Florida. Those stories next.
Bill Bennett here to tell you about Augusta Precious Metals. What if you could store your IRA or 401k where you can see, touch, and hold it in person in the form of physical gold and silver coins? I know I would, and you can't do that with stocks. With the Augusta Gold and Silver IRA, you can transfer retirement savings into physical coins and store them where you can actually see them. Free shipping, zero management fees, and Augusta pays all upfront costs. Getting started is absolutely free. Rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau, enjoys a 98% five-star customer satisfaction rating with TrustLink.org. Trust Augusta. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993 now for your free guide to Augusta Gold IRAs. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993. That's 1-855-222-6993 or visit AugustaPreciousMetals.com.
The recent flooding in Louisiana has cost rice farmers in South Louisiana an estimated $14 million after fields were destroyed in the floods. The damage is more severe than in previous flooding because the waters are not receding. As the new trading week gets underway, there are no major economic reports due out today, but in so-called swing states, a big issue in the presidential campaign has been jobs. The Labor Department says in many of them, hiring has been strong, especially in Colorado, Florida, and North Carolina. Florida Governor Rick Scott says a second area of Zika transmission has been discovered in the tourist-heavy South Beach area. CDC officials and state authorities will continue the probe today. Please join us for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. I'm Keith Peters for the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Here's microbiologist Dr. Kim O'Neill talking about balance of nature.
Scientific research has shown that many cancers and lifestyle diseases can be prevented with a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. This prevention comes from the phytochemicals in the plants. They fight against oxidants that damage the cell's DNA, causing mutations that lead to disease. I don't take any supplementation, but I take Balance of Nature because I know, I've seen it in my lab, and I know that it works. I've seen the immune response increase, I've seen your DNA repair capacity increase, and I've seen DNA protection. And that, to me, as a scientist, rings so true, and it's only natural.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code Chicago.
If you're serious about selling your home, now's the time. Supply is low, and it's a great seller's market in many Chicagoland neighborhoods. This is Michael Medved, and I've done some research, and along with my Salem radio colleagues Mike Gallagher and Dennis Prager, we all recommend that you call Saul. Saul Z and the Z team are so good that if they don't sell your home in 59 days, they'll sell it for free. Guaranteed. Saul is ranked 106 out of 1.2 million agents by the Wall Street Journal. His proven marketing system is so effective that he sells on average a home every single day. Now, he does it by attracting multiple full-price offers that increase demand and help sell your home fast and at the highest price. It's a no-brainer. If I were selling a home in Chicagoland, I'd call Saul. Go online to callsaul.net. That's callsaul, S-A-U-L.net. Or call Saul now at 888-346-0666. That's callsaul.net or 888-346-0666. You'd better call Saul.
AM 560, The Answer.
Talking about Clinton Inc., and I want to get to the Dickensian-named campaign manager for Hillary, Robbie Mook, and the conspiracy theory that he proffered over the weekend. But let's take some calls. Andy in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hey, Andy. Hey, Andy.
Hello?
Andy, you're on. Go.
Hey, I'd like to ask Kristen, is her paper, Lex Hupke, Steve Chapman, and Clarence Page, can they possibly do some coverage on this Clinton story? Because I keep reading the exact same columns out of them every single day. It's just bashing Trump with a different byline every day.
Thanks for the call, Andy. Let me answer that question before Kristen does. Rex Hupke, Clarence Page, Stephen Chapman are the same person. That's why.
We just rotate their names and photos. There are a couple of more conservative right-leaning columnists at the Tribune. Not many in this entire city, but John Cass doesn't bash Trump. I don't bash Trump. But I hear you. There's quite a lot of liberal column writers and news reporters in this city.
Tough to break the orthodoxy.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I've suffered from psoriasis, mainly on the scalp, for 28 years. I went through 8 dermatologists.
If you suffer from psoriasis or vitiligo, you know the pain and embarrassment. Now there's a simple non-medication solution called Extract. Extract treats areas using a unique targeted light therapy.
You have no idea how thick the plaque was on my scalp. Now I'm very close to having clear skin. I'm thrilled with my results.
With clinical studies showing immediate results, with up to 95% clearance, Extract simply works. Extract is covered by all major insurances and Medicare and will help you find a doctor close by.
I just want to thank you for the great results of my psoriasis, thanks to Extract. My scalp hasn't looked and felt this good for years. I'm forever grateful for Extract.
Call now to live Extract Clear. Call 800-499-4281. That's 800-499-4281. 800-499-4281 or xtracradio.com. Qualified patients, certain restrictions apply.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
Coming up, the Hillary campaign counters Trump's conspiracy theories with one of their own. That's at 7:07. But now let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Kristen, here are the stories we're watching at this hour. An 8-year-old girl and a woman shot on Chicago's west side. 9 hurt after a car crashes into a Chicago restaurant. Prosecutors want 30 years for a terror plot suspect. We'll have an update on that story for you. Chicago City Treasurer reportedly interested in a gubernatorial run. Rockies rout the Cubs. Sunny and beautiful day ahead. WIND, Chicago News Time, 7.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. On the heels of his campaign shakeup, could Donald Trump also be on the verge of shaking up his controversial immigration proposals? Fox Radio's John Decker is live at the White House.
Just days after Donald Trump met with a group of Hispanic leaders, his campaign is signaling a possible shift in his hardline immigration policies. Eric Trump on Fox and Friends was non-committal on whether his father's plan to deport 11 million people who are in the country illegally is now under review.
You know, he's going to formulate a really, really great plan that's humane and ethical and that treats everybody well. But we have to solve a problem. It's a real problem for this country.
Republican leaders have urged the Trump campaign to soften its rhetoric in an attempt to improve Trump's poor standing with Hispanic voters. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Virginia's Democratic Governor Terry McAuliffe set to announce that he's individually restored voting rights for thousands of convicted felons after courts ruled against blanket restoration. Trump says it's aimed at helping Hillary Clinton in November. McAuliffe denies any political motivation, saying he's aiming to end a long-standing practice actress of Rachel Prejudice. A long recovery ahead for flood-ravaged Louisiana.
We have a real disaster here on our hands.
And Joint Katrina Task Force Commander Russell Honoré says it's a tragedy with a cascading effect.
It's taken out so many of our local businesses. About 7,300 businesses in the flood zone, we estimate, are now closed.
Nearly 3/4 of schools underwater in some parishes. Floodwater still receding, with President Obama set to visit Baton Rouge tomorrow. Honoré urging anyone who wants to help to donate to the Red Cross or the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. The extent of losses not clear yet in Washington state, where crews are battling a trio of wildfires that erupted yesterday around Spokane. In California, a fire that's destroyed some 300 homes and other structures, now 85% contained east of L.A. Fair and balanced.
60 degrees and sunshine at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. An 8-year-old girl and another woman in stable condition following a shooting on Chicago's west side. It happened late last night in the 1600 block of North Major. Both were driven by another person to the nearest hospital, where authorities are investigating, and no one is in custody. 9 are recovering after a car slams into a restaurant on Chicago's northwest side. Police say a vehicle ran a red light and plowed into another car, which then ran into a Puerto Rican restaurant near Fullerton and Kimball. Prosecutors say they want a judge to impose the maximum 30-year prison sentence on a former Illinois National Guard soldier, calling his plot to attack a U.S. military facility a contemptible betrayal. Prosecutors filing in a Chicago federal courtroom say 23-year-old Hassan Edmonds deserves the sentence for 2 counts of conspiring to provide material support for a foreign terror organization. Edmonds devised a plan to join ISIS and attack a National Guard armory in Joliet. Chicago City Treasurer Kurt Summers is reportedly considering a run for Illinois governor. Meantime, Illinois has become the latest state to grant legal protections to nannies, housekeepers, and in-home caregivers with a domestic workers' bill of rights. The Illinois rules signed by Governor Bruce Rauner, following laws in 6 states, including New York, Hawaii, and California. The Illinois rules will extend sexual harassment protections as well as minimum wage pay and a guaranteed 1 day off in a 7-day work week for domestic nannies and housekeepers. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. Colorado beat the Cubs 11-4. Rio Olympics, a 20-year-old Kyle Snyder, the second straight American wrestler to claim the 97-kilogram class in Olympic wrestling, one of the last medals awarded in the Rio Olympics yesterday. The U.S. has its first marathon medal since 2014 after Galen Rupp captures the bronze. The news, a service of Bank of America. Want cash back at Costco, Sam's Club, and BJ's today? Use your Bank Americard Cash Rewards Visa credit card and earn 2% cash back at wholesale clubs. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/getcashback. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity addresses the Republican establishment.
But when Hillary appoints liberal activist justices, remember, you helped create that. You helped build that. When no wall goes up and somebody crosses the border and commits an act of terror, well, you help build that. If America is not energy independent in the next 8 years, you can pat yourselves on the back for that. If there are restrictions on our Second Amendment rights, I'd say you played a part in that.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's National Make-A-Will Month at LegalZoom.com, so it's time to take care of your will or trust. LegalZoom makes it easy. They're not a law firm, so there's no office visits or paying expensive hourly rates. Instead, you could save over $100 with LegalZoom's will or trust estate plan bundles. And if you don't know whether a will or trust is right for you, don't worry. You'll work with an independent attorney available in 48 states to get advice on what you need. Do the right thing this month at LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom.com.
Thousands of people are choosing the flexibility of working when they want, driving with Uber. You'll control your day, plus be able to start earning right away just by driving your own car.
I've got 2 kids. They're both in summer camp, and I'll drop them off. Then I turn on the Uber app, the ride requests come in, and I'm earning extra money. Working when I want, being my own boss. Driving with Uber is definitely the best option for me.
Earn the extra money you need on your schedule. Get started today. Sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
7:06. Let's get an update on the roads. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Edens, traffic is stop and go from Oakton to the junction. 27 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 21. The Kennedy, 43 minutes O'Hare to downtown, outbound 57. On the Eisenhower, looking at 58 minutes Thorndale to the post office, 45 from Manheim, outbound 45 to Thorndale. Stevenson is 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 40. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 20 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop Ford, 16. Northbound Tri-State slow in pockets from 111th to 47th, then Ogden to 31st, and Roosevelt to Grand. Eastbound Adams Tollway slow Beverly to Rosella, from the Tri-State to the River Road Toll. Reagan Tollway stop and go from the Aurora Toll to 59 and York to the Tri-State. Veterans Memorial slow 75th to the Reagan Tollway and from the Army Trail Toll to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Jim, thank you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's meteorologist Holly Holdren.
Mostly sunny today, high 78. Mainly clear tonight, low 61. Then tomorrow will be mostly sunny with a high of 82. Breezy and humid on Wednesday with a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. High Wednesday, 80. I'm Holly Holdren on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 61 at O'Hare. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Turnkey IT, giving you the freedom to focus on your business while they handle the technical stuff. Turnkey IT.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
We knew you'd be here, Mr. Trump. Glad y'all are playing golf.
It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities. At what point do we say enough?
You're saying Donald Trump is a puppet for the Kremlin?
Well, real questions are being raised about that.
What I'm trying to get at is the first version of the story you told, Ryan, was much more about the mean streets of Rio.
Yeah, I over-exaggerated that story.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Kristen McQuarrie, she of the Chicago Tribune editorial board. And Kristen, speaking of over-exaggerating, in the immortal words of Ryan Lochte, Robbie Mook, the Dickensian named campaign manager for Hillary, he's with her, was on the Sunday shows over the weekend, and boy, he is really exorcised about the retention of Steve Bannon. You know, Trump getting rid of Paul Manafort last week, bringing on Steve Bannon from Breitbart, bringing on Kellyanne Conway to be his campaign manager. And Robbie Mook had something to say about that.
Well, George, we're not seeing a pivot. Donald Trump himself said this was not a pivot. He wants to double down on letting Donald Trump be Donald Trump. That's why he's brought in to run his campaign someone who ran a so-called news organization, Breitbart News, which has peddled some of the worst conspiracy theories around. They've run news, that quote-unquote news, that's been defended white supremacists, that's been sexist, racist, the worst of our politics. So I think we should be very concerned. I would also point out that Paul Manafort has been pushed out, but that doesn't mean that the Russians have been pushed out of this campaign. Mm-hmm. The hand of the Kremlin has been at work in this campaign for some time. It's clear that they are supporting Donald Trump.
The hand of the Kremlin.
Ooh.
That was actually the name of my college band, The Hand of the Kremlin. It was a Jody Watley cover band.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she a one-hit wonder? Or did she do
hardly.
Sorry. I just remember the one.
I'm Looking for a New Love.
Right.
A New Love.
Right. I remember the video.
She had a number of good videos. She was very attractive, if you recall. The hand of the Kremlin. Yeah, so Trump, a Manchurian candidate for the Russians, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I think Robbie Mook has a John le Carre spy novel on his hands.
I think he needed to adjust his tinfoil hat. I mean, this is just such an obvious attempt to pivot from her own problem, from Hillary Clinton's own problems with the foundation accepting money from Russian-connected sources for many years.
There's that.
And also her email. And this is not from Breitbart. This was a story from the Washington Times, I believe last fall, that a State Department official had leaked the story that they believe Russia has at least 20,000 of Hillary Clinton's emails and probably other governments as well. China and Israel, I think, were the other two mentioned. But let's not talk about how that possibly could have, risked national security or could reflect badly on her. Let's just keep talking about Manafort's consulting side job.
Well, not only that, what about not to reference Julian Assange or some kind of authority, but he may not be a reputable figure, but he may have the facts right. What about Hillary Clinton, the Russian reset? What about Barack Obama whispering to Medvedev that after he gets past the election, he can do more stuff, he'll have more flexibility? What about that? What about, as you say, Frank Giustra? He was the Uranium One dude in the pantheon of Clinton cash stories. Giustra also the partner with the Clintons in the Clinton Foundation North, the Great White North, the beauty way to go. Doug McKenzie and Frank Giustra up there in Canada. He's the partner with the Clinton Foundation in Canada. Frank Giustra, who Mr. Clinton said at a gathering, none of this, talking about the foundation, would have been possible if Frank Giustra didn't have a remarkable combination of caring and modesty and vision, of energy and iron determination. I love this guy, and you should too. The New York Times back in April actually did some pretty good investigating and detailed all the contributions to the Clinton Foundation from these various business interests. Uranium One, this company that Giustra was directly involved in, that was the one kind of trying to be a major energy player in the United States. This is Russian-owned. Snap up companies with assets in the U.S. April 2007, purchased a uranium mill in Utah, more than 38,000 acres of uranium exploration properties in 4 western states, followed quickly by the acquisition of the Energy Metals Corporation and its uranium holdings in Wyoming, Texas. The 2005 trip that linked Giustra to a Kazakhstan mining deal that was reported. And then several months later, Giustra donated $1.3 million to the Clinton Foundation. So, I mean, what about all of these nefarious interests?
$31.3 million is how much he has donated so far, according to this story. In total, correct.
Yeah, right.
$31 million.
So that the hand of the Kremlin. Woohoo! It sounds so scary. Stephanopoulos didn't follow up with a question about, the whole kind of Breitbart. And Breitbart's taken a different turn since Andrew Breitbart's death, and I'm not necessarily a fan of their overt Trump jingoism throughout the primary and some of the stories they've done. But, I mean, if you want to throw around sexist, racist stories that shine a positive light on white supremacists, then let's be specific and let's follow up and challenge Robbie Mook. But Stephanopoulos didn't do that. But he did challenge him on the influence of the Kremlin.
But we now need Donald Trump to explain to us the extent to which the hand of the Kremlin is at the core of his own campaign. There's a web of financial interests that have not been disclosed, and there are real questions being raised about whether Donald Trump himself is just a puppet for the Kremlin in this race.
You're saying Donald Trump is a puppet for the Kremlin?
Well, real questions are being raised about that. There's a web of financial ties to the Russians that he refuses to disclose. We've seen over the last few weeks him parroting Vladimir Putin in his own remarks.
There are questions being raised, by Robbie Mook and his conspiracy theory. If there's a web of financial ties, okay, we'll detail them. If you know there's a web of financial ties and you want more details, what's the web? Give me the web.
I think he was just supposed to say web a few times. He just stuck to that. He was supposed to say web, core, Kremlin puppet, and what was the reach?
Hand of the Kremlin.
Hand of the Kremlin. That was his point.
Very vivid. Robbie Mook is a vivid imagination. Julian Assange made the point that Donald Trump has tried to solicit Russian money, has tried to invest or get Russian investors for real estate development deals, has tried to do deals in Russia, but has largely been unsuccessful during his business career. So I mean, just in terms of kind of the full conversation, in terms of what we know. So, I mean, if Robbie Mook has something specific to offer other than these kind of dreamy associations with the hand of the Kremlin, then he should stop watching Game of Thrones and offer up specifics.
You wouldn't possibly get through one broadcast without a Game of Thrones reference. Didn't his predecessor blame, and maybe this was actually proven, and I think the FBI might still be looking into it, but didn't they question whether or not it was Russian hackers who got into the DNC's database?
Yeah, Russian-backed hackers, and there's some suggestion that it could have been the Guccifer 2.0 and all of that. Started out with
well, some of that was confirmed, right?
Yeah.
That they did hack in, but then
no question.
The follow-up was whether or not they were the ones who released all the internal emails to embarrass Hillary Clinton before the DNC, and I don't think that was ever confirmed. I think the FBI is still looking at.
Well, that's right, and also the source of the leaks and information sources for WikiLeaks specifically. I mean, all of this is kind of shrouded in some mystery yet. But Robbie Mook can go on with Clinton Foundation Donor Zero and launch these conspiracy theories that largely go unchallenged. I mean, if this was another Trump conspiracy theory, and there have been some ridiculous ones, going back to Ted Cruz and Lee Harvey Oswald and the assassination of JFK.
This feels a little bit like that, right?
And the birther. So I'm not disclosing those. We've discussed those and we've criticized those. Now, where's the left to criticize Robbie Mook's recklessness? Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, two things. Good morning. If in fact if Donald had tried to do Russian business deals and has been largely unsuccessful, if that is true, to me, that's almost a passive, tacit acknowledgement that in fact he doesn't conduct his work by giving bribes. So that I actually see that as an encouragement. But if I were the Russians and I were holding 20,000 emails from the Clinton crime gang, there's no way I would release those things prior to the election. I would hope that she would be elected because then I could control her and leverage her behind the scenes. There's got to be so much crud that they could get away with by just manipulating her. The leak after if she were elected, the leaks could cripple her presidency by hobbling her effectiveness for years and effectively eliminating the possibility of a second term or her getting anything done during her crooked first term.
Thanks for the call. I don't even think you need to engage in that kind of skullduggery, that kind of behind-the-scenes leveraging. I mean, what's $1 million to Vlad Putin, all the money that he's stolen and some of these Russian plutocrats? Just make a donation to the Clinton Foundation.
Well, that's another point that doesn't get raised very often. But when you have countries like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, donating $25 to $30 million, that's U.S. money. Imagine what that is just in terms of their own gross domestic product. They are significantly sacrificing to, give money to the foundation. And are we supposed to believe that they just are really passionate about, HIV, drugs, that they're not using those donations to try to curry favor and get access? I mean, come on.
Of course. Right.
Come on. They care so deeply about global warming.
Nobody does
that. And the mission of the foundation?
Yeah, nobody does these issues like the Clinton Foundation. They're the gold standard. That's why they're generating so much money. It has nothing to do with their hands on the levers of power. Of course not. Silly. By the way, just in terms of Robbie Mook's dog whistling about the Russians, if you will, it's interesting, the timing of it, well synchronized. My allies here. The Clinton campaign's allies over at the New York Times had a story this week in Trump's empire, maze of debts and opaque ties, kind of hand of the Kremlin stuff, suggesting that Trump has more debt on his properties than he disclosed in his financial interest statements with the Federal Election Commission. That may be true, but I mean, the timing of this kind of story, a lot of which is sawing sawdust about Trump's history in business and real estate, with Robbie Mook making the web of financial ties to the Russians without detail, I found awfully curious.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I guess that's me. Hello. Your weather today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, clear, dropping down to about 61. And tomorrow, another beautiful warm day, high of 82. And let's get a check of traffic with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Kristen. We're now seeing delays on the tri-state southbound from 120 to 176, and northbound it's very slow from 111th most of the way to 47th, and jammed from Ogden to the Grand Avenue curve. On the Edens Expressway, it's 25 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 28. The Kennedy, 43 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 57. The Eisenhower's 1 hour from Thorndale to downtown, and 47 minutes from Manheim, outbound 45 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 40. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Veterans Memorial, stop and go from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway, then from the Army Trail Toll to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte of the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
When you hear the word chiller, the first thing that pops into your mind may be a frozen drink from your favorite convenience store. If you run a business or you're a maintenance engineer, you know of a different kind of chiller, the mechanical one that keeps you, your employees, and customers cool in the summer. And with this summer predicted to be hotter than normal, you don't want to get stuck on one of those 90-plus degree days with no AC. Better call Air Comfort and get your chiller tuned up and running at peak performance. A professional inspection can find small problems before they become big problems, and proper maintenance can keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your AC is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
If you run a business, plumbing, HVAC, or construction, you know that some vans are too small.
We're gonna have to make 2 trips.
Others too big.
Watch the top! Watch the top!
That's where the Mercedes-Benz Metris comes in. With unmatched safety features, a 2,500 2-pound payload, and enough cargo space to hold over 60 sheets of 4x8 drywall, it's big enough for the job. Yet it's small enough to fit in your garage. It has a service interval of up to 15,000 miles and the highest residual value in its class, according to ALG. During the limited-time Metris Summer Savings Event, save $3,000 on all 2016 Mercedes-Benz Metris models. Mercedes-Benz. Vans born to run.
Offer valid only to qualified customers for purchase or lease of eligible 2016 Mercedes-Benz Metris vans. Cashback only available on the purchase or lease of a 2016 Metris van from new dealer stock. See your authorized Mercedes-Benz Vans dealer or mdvans.com website for full offer details. Offer ends August 31st, 2016.
Many of you own or manage growing companies, and you know that your entire business depends on your phones. If your phone service provider struggles to deliver your calls, it can mean lost revenue. That's often the case with an outdated phone system. The solution? Well, it's a company that we use here at AM 560, Innovative Networks. They excel at providing innovative solutions to reinforce your company's phone infrastructure and enhance call flow. We truly appreciate how comprehensive, diligent, and cost-effective Innovative Networks was in providing solutions that scale as our business expands. Innovative Networks can even replace your outdated phone system at no cost and provide hands-on training to maximize your capabilities. You'll save money and be more focused on growing your business. Here at AM 560, we're thrilled with Innovative Networks, so follow our lead and call Innovative Networks at 312-453-7777. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Call 312-453-7777 or visit go4inet.com. That's go, the number 4, I-N-E-T, phonehome.com.
I've been taking the Balance of Nature fruits and veggie capsules for many years. What hooked me was something I wasn't expecting. I was playing golf with one of my friends, and midway through the round, he looks over at me and says, "What's going on here? You're killing me. Did you get new clubs or something?" It dawned on me that the only thing I'm doing different is taking Balance of Nature. I've been a 15 handicap golfer for a long time. 3 months after I started taking the fruits and veggies, I started dropping strokes off my handicap. Even my sons noticed I was playing better. I told them, when I started getting enough fruits and veggies in my diet, I felt better. Better concentration, better swing. When you feel better, you play better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and in for Amy is Chicago Tribune editorial board member Kristen McQuarrie. And Kristen, the Trump campaign is in the game, finally launching their first ad in battleground states. They're finally making an ad by doing some things that are conventional. You know, you can be unconventional, but still abide certain conventions that make sense, like communicating a message. And here's the first campaign ad from the Trump train.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the system stays rigged against Americans. Syrian refugees flood in. Illegal immigrants convicted of committing crimes get to stay, collecting Social Security benefits, skipping the line. Our border open, it's more of the same, but worse. Donald Trump's America is secure. Terrorists and dangerous criminals kept out. The border secured. Our families safe. Change that makes America safe again. Donald Trump for president.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Kind of the law and order / national security message. It's a little schlocky. It's not quite as fluid as I'd like.
Donald Trump will be safer in the board. I mean, it's too much over-promising. I'm not a fan of this ad. I think
over-promising is endemic to political campaigns.
Well, but this, to me, it almost felt like a Saturday Night Live, spoof on what his campaign has been saying. I don't know. I think he's overstepping. Donald Trump's America is going to be safe. Syrian refugees flooding into the border, and he revisits this idea of, criminals. That all Mexican immigrants are criminals. I'm not sure this is the most effective way to launch.
There's nothing. He didn't say anything like that, and he didn't identify any ethnicity other than Syrian refugees because that is, the administration policy with respect to 10,000 this year and a couple of 100,000 over the next 3 years. And we've seen what's happened in Germany, for example, and frankly in this country, when you don't properly vet people coming into your country. And in particular, with respect to the flood of Syrian refugees, it's not to say anything about all Syrians. Anything it is, anything more, in any way more than it is to say anything about all Mexican. But it's a law and order message. I took away. I mean, I don't think it's as crisp as it could be. It's more of a kind of a technical and production critique. But in terms of general messaging about national security and border security, I mean, I think that's on point with this campaign.
I think he could have done it in a more. It would have been better the way you just described it. I mean, I thought we were going to see like a 3.0 Donald Trump coming up. You saw some news coverage about that over the weekend, where he was actually softening his tone a little bit on the wall, softening his tone a little bit on the pause button on Syrian refugees and vetting. This commercial to me plays to all of the things that people are uncomfortable with him, and so I'm not sure why they really doubled down in their first ad with this tone.
You know what I'd like to see, too, in terms of subsequent advertisements, as well as included in Trump's stump speeches, is something about business, particularly in the wake of the tragic flooding in Louisiana and Trump going down there on Friday, bringing an 18-wheeler full of supplies and making a $100,000 donation to a Baptist church and, being present like a president would be, for example. I mean, not this president, but
well, he's on vacation. Dan, he's on vacation.
But this is an opportunity. Walmart was the tactical response team. First on the scene, like they were in Katrina, but even more planning this time after the experience of Katrina. They actually learned, and they're getting better. Walmart, the first line of defense when people are really in need. Mark Perry, our friend at Carpe Diem blog, suggesting Walmart should get the Nobel Peace Prize in 2016. And I agree with him. And I think part of this discussion, because Hillary is so government-centric and the left is so government-centric. Government is the repository of all of the solutions and the director of all aspects of your life. Phil Knight, of course, the founder of Nike, he's got a book, Shoe Dog, a memoir by the creator of Nike. And he writes about business. Especially, Hillary Clinton, Wall Street, business. Business is a bad word, has a negative connotation. It seems wrong to call it business, writes Knight. It seems wrong to throw all those hectic days and sleepless nights, all those magnificent triumphs and desperate struggles under that bland, generic banner, business. What we were doing felt like so much more. We wanted, as all great businesses do, to contribute, and we dared to say so aloud. When you make something, when you improve something, when you deliver something, when you add something new or service to the lives of strangers, make them happier or healthier or safer or better, and when you do it all crisply and efficiently, smartly, the way everything should be done, but so seldom is, you're participating more fully in the whole grand human drama. More than simply alive, you're helping others to live more fully. And that's business, all right, then call me a businessman. I'd like to see Republicans in general and Trump specifically as the presidential nominee make a impassioned defense, redefine business as the social service provider that it is, and not let it be demagogued by the left as it has been. Because the choice, particularly, and it runs nicely into Trump's message about urban centers, is to live an independent life, the way Phil Knight's describing it, or be a subservient Democrat.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, this is Shalom Klein of Get Down to Business, the show for small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship, powered by Tandem HR. According to the Department of Labor, 60% of employers said their employees' health habits were their biggest concern when it comes to managing rising healthcare costs. Many companies today are faced with rising healthcare expenses that comprise their operating budgets. Fortunately, innovative workplace wellness programs exist to help control spiraling healthcare costs. Health risk assessments, one-on-one wellness coaching, and a wide range of online and mobile resources assist employees in living a more healthy lifestyle, significantly reducing illness, absences, medical claims, and accidents. More information on workplace wellness can be found at WSEAP.com. That's WSEAP.com.
For more tips, advice, and stories of entrepreneurial successes, listen to Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, heard Sunday afternoons at 6. Your Business Minute of the Day is powered by Tandem HR.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's good news. Due to the financial hardship many are facing in today's economy, the IRS has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Qualifying for this program will resolve your tax problem, end all collections, and possibly reduce your back taxes by up to 90%. If you are facing wage garnishments, liens, bank levies, audits, or payroll taxes, it's not too late. Your circumstances may qualify you for this special program, protecting your savings and your assets. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's no need to worry anymore. Call the hotline at Victory Tax Solutions to see if you qualify and potentially save thousands. For this free information, call 800-352-4757. 800-352-4757. That's 800-352-4757.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board. Coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to Jeffrey Lord, Trump surrogate and contributing editor to the American Spectator. With a new senior staff and new discipline, can Trump make a new run at the White House? We'll have that after you check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Kristen and Dan, we have 61 degrees sunshine right now, and the U.S. condemning a suicide bombing in southern Turkey that left 51 dead. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards asking for volunteers and donations to help with the recovery in Baton Rouge.
It would be very helpful if people would donate to the Red Cross, to the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, and also to come in and volunteer to help people get back in their homes as quickly as possible.
Edwards on CNN's State of the Union. North Korea threatening South Korea and the U.S. with a preemptive nuclear strike. The threat comes as the South and the U.S. begin an annual military exercise. Federal court today will look at a lawsuit aimed at getting all of Hillary Clinton's emails from her time as Secretary of State. The suit being filed by the conservative judicial group Judicial Watch. Police in Bridgeport, Connecticut, looking for at least 2 suspects. They say ambushed more than 100 people at a party. 13 ages 18 to 24 were hurt, including a man and woman shot in the face. Chicago coming off a violent weekend. The Sun-Times says 7 were killed, 45 wounded in shootings since Friday evening. One person recovering after a fire began in a hotel in Oak Brook Terrace. Blaze began late last night at the La Quinta Inn on Midwest Road. 3 were rescued from the 3rd floor and over 100 were evacuated. 1 victim hospitalized with minor smoke inhalation. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. Jose Quintana gets a career-best 10th win. Colorado beat the Cubs 11-4, ending Jason Hamels' 22-inning scoreless streak. The news service of Aruba Tourism. Aruba is your shortcut to relaxation. Unwind with Aruba's cooling trade winds or bask in the crystal blue Caribbean. Hop a nonstop flight from O'Hare to One Happy Island. Plan your shortcut to happiness today at Aruba.com. 7:36 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas. Best beans, best roast, best coffee. Scoundrels are not exclusive to politics. They're smart enough to occupy necessity service industries like the automotive business. As a real estate broker, my car is a lifeline and a total necessity to my business and my family, which is why I had to seek out an honest, truthful auto service provider. For over the past decade, I've put my trust in Craigies Mobile Service Center on Lake Street in Addison. Craigies handles full auto repair on foreign and domestic vehicles. They pride themselves on providing you the best cost-effective auto repair and expert advice. Craigies has full service bays and truck lifts that can service and manage your whole fleet. They also provide priority service for your business and can track each vehicle, alerting you to the repair before you need it, keeping your guys on the road. Since 1959, Craigies Mobile Service Center has thrived through 10 presidential administrations, giving you reputable, dependable, and honest auto repair. Do yourself a favor. Just go into Craigies on Lake Street in Addison. See my guy Vic. He'll set you up. Tell him Sean from Elmwood Park sent you. I approve of this message, unlike the two presidential candidates.
No one likes being stuck in traffic. It's the same gut-wrenching feeling you have when you're stuck with your company's health insurance plan. Like most employees, you worry about paying too much for health benefits and prescriptions. Unfortunately, you probably are. But the good news is you don't have to. I'm Jim Lorenz from Clear Insight, and I have helpful solutions to lower your costs and improve your employee benefit package. Don't change the prescription drug, change where you buy it. I will give you a tool that will provide the cost of your drugs at the pharmacies near you. You'll seek out a gas station just to save 10 cents a gallon. So why don't you do the same with your health insurance and prescription drug benefits that could save you hundreds? I apply the same concepts to your health benefits. With plan design and simple technology, we're able to grant the rewards that help keep that copay in your pocket. As someone who's been in the health industry for over 25 years, I know firsthand that one-size benefits do not fit all. Talk to your HR person or manager. Tell them to visit clearinsightbenefits.com. See how we can return benefits to your employee benefits package.
738 Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The Edens is 27 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 35. Kennedy, 42 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 57. The Ike, an hour and 7 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound an hour and 2 minutes. Stevenson, an hour and 5 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 43 minutes. Ryan, 30 minutes. 95th to downtown, outbound now 5. Tri-State has southbound delays 120 to 176, northbound 111th to 75th, and from the Stevenson all the way up to the Grand Avenue curve. Traffic is a service of accountants. With summer vacation plans quickly approaching, you find your accounting team short-staffed. At Accountants, they offer professional temporary accounting and finance support when your employees head out for summer break. Call today or visit accountemps.com. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Sunny and beautiful today. High 78. 59 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy, with Kristen McCreary of the Chicago Tribune editorial board joining us this morning for Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by All Seasons Pool and Spa Outdoor Living. Your backyard paradise begins at resortlivingathome.com.
See Alan West and Michelle Morgan at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy, Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board member. And Kristen, over the weekend, Trump in Dimondale, Michigan, offering a very similar message that he offered in Wisconsin earlier in the week, a direct appeal to, on law and order issue generally, but to African-American families specifically. Listen to Trump on the big government policies that have dominated the urban centers at the hands of Democrats like Hillary Clinton.
America must reject the bigotry of Hillary Clinton, who sees communities of color only as votes, not as human beings worthy of a better future. Hillary Clinton would rather provide a job to a refugee from overseas than to give that job to unemployed African American youth in cities like Detroit who have become refugees in their own country.
I got to tell you, that's tough, but I don't think you can be tough enough. I like that formulation. You have people who have become refugees in their own country in our urban centers. How do you dispute that with 50, 60% unemployment in inner city Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee, et cetera?
Well, not just unemployment, but failed school systems, crippling debt, lots of social service programs that just continue to add people to the rolls. We just had a story in the Tribune over the weekend about the increase in SNAP benefits and the abuse of those programs. And they're not producing. They're not lifting people out of poverty. And so I think he's,
because they're not intended to. That's the real point.
Well, I think
they're predatory big government policies that are intended to subjugate people.
That is the result. But I think the intention of people who propose them, and I mean, you even have people like Paul Ryan, who has rolled out a whole plan on how to lift people out of poverty with doing more block granting to the states, et cetera. There is an intention there to help people to extend a helping hand, but they become predatory in that they just create this whole dependency situation.
Well, but what Paul Ryan is doing is trying to piecemeal dismantle the welfare state. He's realistic because you're not going to snap your fingers and make it disappear and replace it with different incentives. So he's trying to do, trying to get kind of half a loaf when he can't get the full loaf, at least not right away. But I think he understands very clearly the underlying perniciousness of these programs. And as Samuel Johnson said, the road to hell paved with Hillary's good intentions. For more on this and what Trump's been saying and his appeals, as well as change in staff and change in discipline, we're now joined by Jeffrey Lord, contributing editor to the American Spectator, CNN contributor, and Trump fan. Hey, Jeffrey, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Kristen. How are you?
Good morning. And I want to follow on that little discussion we were having based on what Trump had to say in Michigan.
Yeah.
With a headline from CNN. Trump wants GOP to court black voters, then slams voting rights for felons. Boy,
I would disagree with that.
How are those two connected?
Felons?
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, this is Trump is accused of calling all Mexicans criminals, which he never did. It seems like here CNN is implicitly suggesting voting rights for blacks have to do with convicted felons.
Yeah, look, here's the problem here with this, and I have written, I can't think of how many columns about this over the years. The Democratic Party and the American left in general have from the get-go, and when I mean the get-go, I mean Thomas Jefferson, who was the founder of the Democratic Party, allied himself with slave owners in 1800. To win his presidential election. And that set this party on a path of appealing to people by race. They supported, you go back and it's really incredible. You go back and read their political platforms in the day. They had 6 political platforms that supported slavery outright. They had about another 20 or so that either supported segregation outright or didn't even think the subject was worth discussing. You get all the way up to today in illegal immigration by skin color, and they're still at it. This is what they do. So when you get to a policy situation and realize that Democrats have been running most of America's major cities for decades, and you see the riots in Baltimore or the riots in Milwaukee, what's really going on here is a cry for help. These policies do not work. They have failed utterly, and you guys ran through the list of things. Whether it's median income, just in the Obama years, the number of blacks on food stamps has soared. They treat American citizens abysmally, and they play on them for racial reasons. Think Al Sharpton, to name one of just many. This is wrong, and God bless Donald Trump for standing up and saying, hey, we don't have to live like this in this country. We can do better, and this is what I think we should do. And I think he deserves all the credit in the world for it.
So, Jeffrey, I think it's your latest column, just to pivot a little bit, you go to the defense of Stephen Bannon and all of the hype, and I just want to quote a sentence from your latest piece. quote, and right on cue, the freakouts about Breitbart CEO Steve Bannon and Breitbart itself begin. For the life of me, as predictable as the reactions are, they still amaze. Can you talk a little bit about what you saw as this rollout and the change in the campaign took place in the media about this change?
Yeah, I mean, here is Steve. I mean, I read Breitbart every day, and I know Steve Bannon. And, you know, right off the bat, they play the race card. And this is a site that is dedicated to exactly the kind of world that Martin Luther King, of one among many, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, used to talk about, a colorblind America, where people are judged, in Dr. King's famous words, not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I mean, the Breitbart site is death on identity politics and this multicultural stuff and diversity, so-called diversity, which, in my view, certainly are the descendant policies of slavery and segregation, the grandchild and grandson, if you will, of these things, where everybody is supposed to be assigned a skin color, and we're all going to be judged that way. And then they're going to play us off one against another for political purposes. I mean, there's been no more staunch an opponent of that than Steve Bannon and Breitbart, and Andrew Breitbart before that. So I just find this, utterly laughable, predictable, but laughable.
Although I got to say, Maureen Dowd, she had like a snarky Trump parody column in the New York Times over the weekend, but she did refer to Steve Bannon as looking like he had crawled out of a Guinness keg. And he does kind of look like that with the cargo shorts and the disheveled appearance. I mean, it's just kind of funny. You know, we can laugh at ourselves. But just on that point, it's very interesting you bring that up because Robbie Mook over the weekend, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was talking about Breitbart, not mentioning it by name, but it's white supremacist and it's racist and it's anti-Semitic. I mean, they just use these terms when they don't have a substantive argument to make. Anti-Semitic, one of the senior editors at Breitbart is a friend of mine, Joel Pollack, who's an Orthodox Jew from Chicago. I mean, it's just
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
The facts don't matter.
I'll tell you one fact that I find fascinating. I mentioned that this was the party that supported slavery. They just had their umpteenth Democratic National Convention. Did you hear anything about them apologizing for supporting slavery? I didn't. I find it very curious that after all of these years, they can't bring themselves to look the black community of America in the eye and say, we were responsible for, in essence, an American Holocaust, and we apologize. They won't do it. They won't do it. And then you get Hillary Clinton's campaign manager on there that has the brass to say that Donald Trump or Breitbart or what have you is racist. I mean, please.
Could you, a couple weeks ago, you were, I think it was on CNN, and you brought up the idea of wanting to have some of these rigged election claims actually get investigated by a serious law enforcement authority. You're talking to us in Chicago and Cook County where fraudulent elections are a sport and dead people vote. What is the basis of you, though, making those kinds of broad claims that the election is going to be rigged? How so?
Well, we have. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you in Chicago. We have had countless over the decades stories of election corruption, if you will, in Chicago. Certainly here in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. In 2008, I attended a press conference right here in the state capitol in Harrisburg with a former Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice, the state Republican chairman, and a local district attorney putting out a report in chapter and verse on 6 counties in Pennsylvania where there was voter fraud. This stuff goes on. I was fascinated. I mean, it doesn't take much to find this stuff. I mean, I found particularly fascinating a report from Chicago in 1982, the gubernatorial race between Jim Thompson and then Senator Adlai Stevenson, and it was so controversial that the FBI wound up getting involved, in the aftermath of investigating. And according to the report I read, this one FBI agent whom they named said that what struck him in interviewing so many people in the Chicago political system was that not only were they into vote stealing, but their predecessors were, and their predecessors' predecessors were, and they were all training the next generation of leaders how to do this.
You have to pay it forward. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to assume that this just doesn't happen is incorrect. And I think before this election is over, we're going to be, taking a close look around the country. Certainly, I'm going to start poking around here in Pennsylvania to see where we stand on this right today.
All right. He is Jeffrey Lord, CNN contributing editor to the American Spectator. Jeffrey, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I like to hear the little beep. Beep, beep. Mostly sunny today and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, clear with a low of 61. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and another beautiful day, high of 82 degrees. Temperatures drop again into the 60s. Let's get a check of traffic with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Kristen and Dan. Metra has delays on the Union Pacific West line due to mechanical problems. The Edens is 27 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose outbound 35. Kennedy 46 minutes. O'Hare to downtown outbound an hour and 5 minutes. The Eisenhower's an hour and 7 minutes. Thorndale to the post office 50 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 50 minutes to Manheim, an hour 10 to Thorndale. Stevenson 55 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 50. The Rhine 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Tri-State southbound, slow 120 to 176. Northbound, really heavy, 111th to 75th. From the Stevenson to the Grand Avenue curve, Reagan totally jammed this morning. Randall to 59. And there were delays from Naperville Road most of the way to the Tri-State. Jim Talamonte and the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
The success of a mid-sized business often comes down to one thing: managing your cash flow. I'm Ann Dollagall, Treasury Management Executive at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, we take a personalized and proactive approach to structuring your cash management solutions to keep your financial assets safe and working for you. Our automated accounts receivable and accounts payable technology allows your business to grow without adding to your overhead expenses. And what truly sets Signature Bank apart is our personal approach. We get to know your business by rolling up our sleeves to work alongside you. Call me today for a review of your company's operational challenges.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, Kristen, Julian's Auctions in L.A. is selling a bunch of memorabilia from celebrities, part of its Icons and Idols auction that includes Jane Fonda's clothing and jewelry, which I'm going to buy and burn on behalf of Vietnam veterans. Memorabilia from Katharine Hepburn, Barbra Streisand, Fred Astaire, and the like. It also includes Truman Capote's ashes, which have been at the home of Joanne Carson, ex-wife of late-night host Johnny Carson, where the author died in 1984. Bids start at $2,000, for Capote's ashes. But the reason I'm offering this story is so I can do my Hollywood quality impersonation of Truman Capote.
Oh, of course. Oh, I thought you were going to say of Johnny Carson, but go ahead.
Truman Capote.
Go ahead.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a saint yet. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a homosexual. I'm a genius.
Toby Jones, Philip Seymour Hoffman, eat your heart out.
And now, a moment of objectivism with your Ron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
Everyone from Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz to Rob Lau and Angelina Jolie say they've been inspired by Ayn Rand's most famous novel, Atlas Shrugged. What's the appeal? Atlas Shrugged grapples with the fundamental questions of human existence, presenting radically new answers. Is the pursuit of profit a noble enterprise or the root of all evil? Is sexual passion an exalted spiritual virtue or a dirty animalistic vice? Is reason an absolute or is faith an alternative source of truth? These are just a few of the timeless questions Ayn Rand explores in Atlas Shrugged, and her thought-provoking answers and intriguing characters will have you turning the pages for more. Pick up a copy of Atlas Shrugged today and visit ARIRadio.com to learn more about the ideas in Ayn Rand's masterwork. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Yaron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brook Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIRadio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
Hey, you've heard me talking about my good friends at Guardian Security Services for a few months now, and if you haven't called them yet, what are you waiting for? If you're unhappy with your door staff or on-site security officers at your gated community or residential high-rise, man, don't tolerate it. And certainly don't renew your contract for 2017. Instead, get a quote from Guardian Security Services. I put my name behind these guys because I love them and I really trust them. They only assign the most professional, highly trained door staff and security officers in all of Chicagoland. Schedule a free security assessment with my friends at Guardian Security Services. Get a contract quote for next year. Right now, call 708-385-3300. That's 708-385-3300. Tell them me, Joe Walsh, sent you, or go online at GuardianSecurityInc.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm telling you right now, it's awesome. I was trying to get my blood pressure regulated, okay? And like after 3 days of taking this thing, my blood pressure went back down to normal. I am ecstatic. I am so happy with this stuff. It is my savior.
Well, I had back pain for the last 40 years. 4 days after I started taking this stuff, it's gone.
This was the first summer that I have not had to have a steroid shot to help me to breathe.
The reason why I'm taking it because I've got Hep C. Once I began taking your stuff, it took a few months, but believe it or not, my liver enzymes are way down and it's normal now. It works.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code Chicago.
Attention! Live the American dream and your small business success story with janitorialpartner.com. They have over 40 years experience in marketing, sales, and operations to make your dream of owning a small business come true. They're adding new janitorial partners for the next 2 weeks, complete with training and leads to service their extensive commercial cleaning network. So fire your boss, provide a better life for you and your family, and stake your claim in a recession-proof business. Go to janitorialpartner.com now.
Available in Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, and Northern Indiana. Call 888-999-8108.
Coming up either way, I'm going to continue talking like Truman Capote. Walter Williams joins us. Is black success important at 808? Now let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, here are the stories we're watching right now. 9 heard after a car crashes into a Chicago restaurant. WIND Chicago News Time. 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. Donald Trump confirming a possible shift in his immigration plans, but he denies it's a 180. Fox Radio's John Decker live at the White House.
With Republican leaders urging the Trump campaign to soften its rhetoric on illegal immigration, Trump's campaign manager signaled over the weekend a possible shift in Trump's hardline immigration policies. But Trump on Fox and Friends denied that his plan to deport 11 million people who are in the country illegally is now under review.
No, I'm not
not flip-flopping. We want to come up with a really fair but firm answer. It has to be very firm.
Trump has angered many Hispanic leaders during the campaign due to his plan to build a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Trump rallies later today in Ohio, while Hillary Clinton starts the week with West Coast fundraisers. The president's transgender bathroom directive is blocked by a federal judge on what amounts to a technicality, at least for now. Fox Radio's Gernal Scott with this live.
Lisa, the ruling allows court challenges to play out, marking at least a temporary victory for a coalition of states led by Texas. The judge's decision, however, was not based on a matter of students' rights. It comes as a result of issues the bench had with White House procedure in issuing the directive, which covers not only bathroom use but also locker room and shower facilities. The issue gained national attention after a controversial North Carolina state law required transgender use of facilities matching gender at birth. The White House has not yet commented on the ruling, Lisa.
Thanks, Colonel. 100,000 people filing emergency aid requests so far in Louisiana, devastated by a week of deadly flooding.
We've got a lot of people suffering, and we need the government to step up and help them get back in their homes. Otherwise, this is going to have a significant impact on the second poorest state in America.
Retired Lieutenant Army General Russell Honoré says thousands of businesses and many schools remain underwater. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
61 degrees in Chicago. It's 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago coming off another violent weekend. Sun-Times reporting at least 7 were killed and another 45 were wounded in shootings since early Friday evening. One person recovering after a fire began in a hotel in west suburban Oak Brook Terrace. Blaze began last night at the La Quinta Inn on Midwest Road. One victim hospitalized with minor smoke inhalation. 9 recovering after a car crashes into a restaurant on Chicago's northwest side. Police say that vehicle ran a red light Saturday night, slammed into another car. That car plowed into a Puerto Rican restaurant near Fullerton and Kimball. Prosecutors want a judge to impose a maximum 30-year prison sentence on a former Illinois National Guard soldier, calling his plot to attack a Joliet military facility a contemptible betrayal. Prosecutors filing in Chicago federal courts say 23-year-old Hassan Edmonds deserves that sentence for 2 counts of conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terror organization. It's been nearly a month since Indiana Republican leaders picked a new candidate for governor. Most voters apparently in that state don't know much about Lieutenant Governor Eric Holcomb, who replaced Mike Pence on the November ballot after Pence dropped his re-election bid. Those weeks have passed without Holcomb airing any TV advertisements to introduce himself against Democratic candidate, the popular John Gregg. White Sox over Oakland 4-2. Colorado over the Cubs 11-4. The News, a service of 7-Eleven. Chill out this summer at 7-Eleven. When you get an ice-cold Big Gulp, you'll get a free one-day Redbox movie rental. This refreshing deal won't last long, and it's only at 7-Eleven while supplies last. Subject to additional terms. Charges apply for additional nights. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. From the Fox Business Network and a service of Turnkey.pro, here's Jenny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, drug company Pfizer is buying biotech Medivation, known for its prostate cancer treatment Xtandi. It's a deal worth $14 billion in cash. Kevin Kelly of Recon Capital says Sanofi Aventis was trying to buy Medivation, but Pfizer topped its offer.
This is a really big deal. Medivation has been on the block since March, and one of the things that's been happening is it's got a trophy asset in the prostate cancer space. And so Sanofi Aventis has come in and tried to buy this company numerous times, and they've rebuked them.
Another drug maker, AstraZeneca, says an Alzheimer's treatment it is developing with Eli Lilly has received fast-track designation from the FDA. Sony reportedly plans to introduce 2 versions of its new PlayStation 4 next month, a standard model and a high-end version. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
8:05 in Chicago, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Marxists, socialists, and communists forget the government doesn't have any money.
The Dave Ramsey Show.
Except money it took from someone who is producing money. Government creates no money. The only way the government has money is if it took it from one of us. And so the only way that it would have money to give these people is if it took more from the other people. Thus, Marxism, communism.
Dave Ramsey, weeknights starting at 7. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
It's National Make a Will Month at LegalZoom.com, so it's time to take care of your will or trust. LegalZoom makes it easy. They're not a law firm, so there's no office visits or paying expensive hourly rates. Instead, you could save over $100 with LegalZoom's will or trust estate plan bundles. And if you don't know whether a will or trust is right for you, don't worry. You'll work with an independent attorney available in 48 states to get advice on what you need. Do the right thing this month at LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom.com.
Thousands of people are choosing the flexibility of working when they want, driving with Uber. You'll control your day, plus be able to start earning right away just by driving your own car.
I've got 2 kids. They're both in summer camp, and I'll drop them off. Then I turn on the Uber app, the ride requests come in, and I'm earning extra money. Working when I want, being my own boss. Driving with Uber is definitely the best option for me.
Earn the extra money you need on your schedule. Get started today. Sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
8:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. It's really heavy on the inbound Eisenhower this morning with delays starting at York Road, an hour and 15 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, and outbound it's an hour and 12 minutes. Eden's 22 minutes. Lake Hook to the junction, outbound 35. Kennedy, 48 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound an hour and 5 minutes. Inbound Stevenson, 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 50. Ryan is 25 minutes, 95th to downtown. Lakeshore Drive, southbound slow Belmont to Fullerton, and 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound Soldier Field to Jackson. Tri-State southbound delays are from 21 to 176. Northbound really messy from Archer to 47th and from Cermak to the Grand Avenue curve. Eastbound Adams Tollway delays 25 to Barrington Road, 53 to Arlington Heights Road, and Bussey to Lee. Reagan Tollway jammed, Randall to 59, and Naperville Road most of the way to the Tri-State. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here's our meteorologist, Holly Holdren.
Mostly sunny today, high 78, mainly clear tonight, low 61. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny with a high of 82, becoming breezy and humid on Wednesday with a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and a high of 80. I'm Holly Holdren on AM 560, The Answer.
61 at O'Hare. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs powered by Tandem HR. Heard Sunday evenings at 6.
Good morning. Welcome to your Monday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
We knew you'd be here, Mr. Trump. Glad y'all are playing golf.
It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities. At what point do we say enough?
You're saying Donald Trump is a puppet for the Kremlin?
Well, real questions are being raised about that.
What I'm trying to get at is the first version of the story you told, Ryan, was much more about the mean streets of Rio.
Yeah, I over-exaggerated that story.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Truman Capote, Harper Lee. I got a text from 708. Enough with the Capote voice. He doesn't like my Capote voice.
I thought you were going to do the whole rest of the show
Wouldn't
in
it
your
be fun?
Capote voice.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Please do.
It'd drive our listenership to zero, but it would be fun for me. I love the Capote voice. It's so much fun.
It is. You really nailed it, I have to say.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell that to Hollywood casting Toby Jones over me. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
No, Philip Seymour Hoffman. But Toby Jones,
right?
I can hold my own with Toby Jones. I'm just saying. All right, we're now happy to be joined by one of my favorite guests. We're fortunate to speak with him routinely and get his wisdom. He is Professor of Economics at George Mason University, Walter Williams. Professor Williams, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Morning. And by the way, you can get Professor Williams's wisdom on a routine basis by going to his blog, walterewilliams.com, which is always must reading. And your
friend in the economics world, Thomas Sowell, had an interesting piece in townhall.com, which is kind of a companion piece to the piece that you wrote recently for our colleague Dennis Prager in Prager University, your piece, Black Fathers Matter. Thomas Sowell asking, does black success matter? Talking about examples that should be replicated and scaled where, for example, charter schools are doing very well in preparing African American and minority students for college and beyond, much better than, say, their public school counterparts in places like Crown Heights in New York City. So does black success matter? Do black fathers matter? Why don't we spend more time extolling the virtues of the model that we want to see scaled?
Well, I think that does not get the votes, and that does not get the sanction of the interest groups. As you point out, my colleague pointed out that there's a couple schools in Crown Heights, the Crown Heights Success Academy, where blacks and Hispanics score. Actually, 90% of the students score above the national average in academic achievement tests. Well, black succeeding is not a very interesting story. Plus, on top of that, the educational establishment, which is mostly Democratic, they give 90% of their money to the Democratic candidates. They see the success that blacks are making in some of these schools, albeit a small amount of success, they see that as a threat because most often these schools where blacks are doing very, very well, they have a much smaller budget than the public schools, and so that would be an embarrassment to the public schools. So the whole issue of black success is irrelevant to politicians.
Could you talk a little bit about what you think it would take for black voters to migrate away from the Democratic Party? You had Trump over the weekend appealing directly to them and saying, if you live in these urban centers, these policies have failed you. What do you have to lose? Does he have any chance of getting more than, Mitt Romney, I think, got 6% of the black vote last time around? What does Trump need to do to appeal to that electorate? Or is it a lost cause?
Well, I think that one thing that some politicians are saying, or some people are saying, that he should go talk to the NAACP. I think that would be a great mistake. That is, we should not look at the NAACP and other civil rights organizations as owners of the black vote. And Trump is doing exactly right by talking to the masses of Americans, including black Americans, but about the tragedy, the gross tragedy that's going on in black communities. And so it's, for example, most Americans do not have any idea of what goes on in black communities. For example, the average black student who manages to graduate from high school in the first place, he has the academic achievement levels of a white student who's in the 7th or 8th grade. That is devastating, but nobody wants to talk about that. Or many black families, they have to serve dinner on the floor in their house to avoid stray bullets, and sometimes put their kids in bathtubs to avoid the stray bullets. The average American knows nothing about this. And on top of it, the major problems that black Americans face have absolutely nothing to do with racial discrimination or a legacy of slavery.
So is there... I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the reason I say that is that look at some of the devastating problems that black Americans face. 73% of black kids are born out of wedlock, but in 1965, only 25%, and in 1938, it was 11%. Only a little bit over 30% of black kids live in two-parent families now. But however, in the 1880s, and I document in my book, Race and Economics, up to, depending on what city you're looking at, somewhere between 70 and 85% of black kids lived in two-parent families. So the problem is, it's the welfare state has had a devastating effect on black people.
Well, and so how do we get out of this cycle of dependency and destitution and with disproportionately minority families existing as wards of the state and
and identifying with their captors, as it were?
Well, we don't have the political courage to do what is necessary. That is, what is necessary is to end the handout regime. Yeah, now I'm not talking about going cold turkey overnight with people, because we've gotten them addicted to the welfare state. But I would say if I had a program, or if I had the power, I'd say, look, 5 years from now, you're only going to get half of what you're getting, and 10 years from now, you're not going to get anything in terms of these welfare and these food stamps, all these handout programs, and that is to wean people off the dependency. That is, if we keep them dependent, it's going to go on forever. And keep in mind that when you have the people dependent and on government programs, I think in Hawaii, a welfare mother would have to make somewhere close to $50,000 a year to break even with what she gets on welfare. And so poor people are poor, but they're not stupid. So they're going to stay on welfare. They can't go out and get a job for $50,000.
So today, though, is the anniversary of President Bill Clinton signing welfare reform that has been hailed as, a change maker. People actually had a time limit as to how long they could seek or they could accept benefits before they had to seek work. Did that program make monumental change, or have we slid back from what happened?
It was beginning to make change, but Obama unilaterally, and I think unconstitutionally, just ended the work requirement that happened when Clinton was president.
Right, and now you have this story too. Court filing late last week from the Department of Justice. Holding defendants in jail because they can't afford to make bail is unconstitutional. This is the Justice Department position, the first time the government has taken such a position before a federal appeals court. I mean, this is kind of another sop to a constituency, if you will.
Oh, you're absolutely right. The Justice Department is the enemy of black people. That is, you look at some of the things they've done. They've called for schools to stop suspending black students at a rate higher than they suspend Asian or white students. And so what they're essentially saying is to allow these students to continue to make, disruptive students to continue to make education impossible for everybody else. If I were a dependent black person living in some of these neighborhoods, like in the city of Chicago, I'd ask the Justice Department, don't give me any help whatsoever. The help is hurting.
When Trump has referenced, and he's done it a couple times on last week in Wisconsin and over the weekend in Michigan, he referenced the policies that we're talking about here, the welfare state policies, as bigoted. He talks about Hillary's bigotry in terms of support for these policies. Is that a fair word to call those policies bigoted?
Well, I don't know. I think that I don't think it's a fair word. That is to call the policies bigoted. Now, many of the people who support the policies are bigoted, but I believe a lot of the policies come as a result of the American people having a misguided sense or misguided ideas of how to help their fellow man in need. And if you look at it, I mean, I don't think any person, I don't think that we would treat our own families the way that we treat poor people. I mean, for example, if you had a daughter and she's 16 years old, she made a mistake, had a baby out of wedlock, would you tell her, well, look, here's $500 a month. Next month, come here and get the same amounts. Sit on your butt and watch TV. And if you have another baby, you get $700 a month. We would not treat anybody that we loved the way that we treat poor people. That is, we give poor people the incentive to do the personally destructive, engage in personally destructive activities.
And is it fair to say, after 60 years, it's very clear you can't outsource being your brother's keeper to the federal government?
Oh, that is absolutely right. And more importantly than that, in some aspects of black life, it's gotten much, much worse. In your own city of Chicago, I mean, I think that last time I looked, it was 2,500 shootings and close to 350, it might be more than that, homicides this year. And most of it's done by black people. It's not the Ku Klux Klan riding in the black neighborhood shooting black people. It's black people doing that.
I'm looking at a headline right now in the Chicago Tribune, 15 hurt in shootings overnight and among them a 7-year-old girl.
Yeah,
So,
we're up to north of 425 now because, of course, you can't close Pandora's box when you've opened it if you continue doing the same thing. She's Walter Williams, professor of economics at George Mason University, the blog walterewilliams.com. Professor Williams, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
And thank you very much for inviting me. Good day.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
I think Dan should do the weather in his Truman Capote. Today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, mainly clear, low of 61. And tomorrow, another warm, sunny day with a high of 82. Let's get a check of the roads with Jim Talamonte.
Good morning, Kristen and Dan. Eastbound I-80 at stop and go from Humboldt to before Larkin. Eden's now just 21 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose, but outbound 35. Kennedy, 45 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound still an hour and 5 minutes. The Eisenhowers, an hour and 15 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, 53 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 53 to Manheim, an hour 12 to Thorndale. Stevenson is 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45. Ryan, 25 minutes from 95th to Loop. Tri-State southbound, still a bit tight from 137 to 176. Northbound, it is just jammed from 95th Street all the way up to the Grand Avenue curve. The other tollways are also very heavy this morning. Northwest Indiana's fine. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
You always listen to AM 560, The Answer. You've heard all about Turnkey IT, Chicagoland's leading IT service provider for small business. Turnkey provides world-class support and customizable plans for businesses with 5 to 100 users. And with some of Turnkey IT's programs, you get all new equipment, free security, and antivirus protection. Sound great? Then why haven't you called Turnkey IT? There's really no excuse. Turnkey IT is setting you up with their best offer yet. Through the summer, all AM 560 listeners receive their first month of service for just $1. Your business will receive comprehensive coverage, including unlimited help desk and online support, network hosting, and antivirus protection its first contracted month for just $1. Ready to make the switch? It's easy. Visit turnkey.pro now. That's turnkey.pro. And tell them AM 560 The Answer sent you. Get ready to focus on the important things of your business and leave the technical stuff to the pros. Visit turnkey.pro today.
Hey there, this is Eric Metaxas. Lately, I've been telling you about Liberty University's online degree programs. Liberty University is the world's largest Christian university with over 95,000 students studying around the world through Liberty's online programs. While there are a lot of universities who've jumped into online education, few can deliver on the promise of a quality education with such flexibility, and even fewer can actually point to a graduate of their online program like my friend Morgan from Nashville.
I did it. I actually got my degree from Liberty University. 2 degrees, actually. Not only has this process taught me self-discipline, I've also learned that it is never too late to fulfill your dreams. And I did it all online. I did it, and you can too.
Call Liberty University now at 800-424-9595. That's 800-424-9595, 800-424-9595, or visit liberty.edu/online. Flexible, affordable, possible. Liberty University Online.
Michael Medved here for American Federal Rare Coin and Bullion. For nearly 35 years, American Federal has specialized in liquidating non-performing coin portfolios and turning them to gold, silver, or platinum bullion. If you're not properly invested, you could be losing money and missing out on substantial opportunities. On August 25th, American Federal is offering a free seminar at the Doubletree North Shore Conference Center in Skokie, where they'll share vital market information that could be critical to your investment portfolio. You'll learn how to take advantage of the newest trends in the rare coin and precious metals markets, how to avoid paying too much, precious metals, IRAs, and how to ensure that your coins are 100% liquid and easy to sell. You'll also receive a complimentary on-site coin performance review. Now that's August 25th, 12 to 3 p.m. at the Doubletree North Shore Conference Center in Skokie. Seats are limited. Call 1-800-221-7694. That's 1-800-221-7694. Or go to AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
AM 560, The Answer. See Alan West and Michelle Malkin at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Kristen McQuarrie from the Chicago Tribune editorial board. And this just coming over the transom. Trump is on the stick. It looks like we're going to have another good week from the Trump campaign. At least it's starting out well. Trump shut down the Clinton Foundation, calling today for the Clinton Foundation to be disbanded entirely as some qualifiers emerged over the weekend in response to the pronouncement that was offered by the Clinton campaign that, oh, well, if Hillary's elected, the Clinton Foundation will stop accepting donations from foreign countries and corporations, so as not to compromise the Oval Office the way she did the Secretary of State's office. Not exactly. Not exactly. Reuters had the story. Representatives of the charities.
Access buyers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure. What word would
Representatives of the influence peddlers confirmed on Friday that the new guidelines would only apply to a small percentage of the foundation's activities, including its work on climate change and some of its work on economic development. Also, did the officials point out that the foreign arm of the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton-Justra Enterprise Partnership north of the border there, not subject to the foundation's latest announcement on donation limitations, which is just kind of an incredible deal, isn't it? That they're going to substantially continue operations as they have were she to be elected president. No conflict there.
Do you think she'll still get like $675,000 in speaking fees from Goldman Sachs, or is she going to stop that too? Are we done with that?
To shame them for their mortgage shenanigans that are wrecking the economy.
So no more money. Is that Truman Capote coming out again? No. Okay. No. So no more money from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait. Oh wait, they can be just through this other funneling mechanism, the Canadian branch of.
It's important that the Clinton Global Initiative continue their laudatory work the world over. Of course, that's what this is about. Mm-hmm. This is not about buying access or compromising the U.S. government.
No, it's people who are passionate about what the Clinton Foundation does, what does it do? What does it do?
It provides a very nice lifestyle to the Clintons and the foundation employees. We know that. It also spreads some money around certain places to at least give the appearance of being a philanthropic organization, so they're not hauled right off to jail, as if that would happen to the Clintons, at least under this regime. But it's fascinating because it seems to me that a prevalent opinion with among the American electorate is the system is rigged against little people that don't have a lot of money or a lot of political juice. That seems to span the political spectrum. And what you're talking about here is scaling that beyond the Secretary of State's office now to the presidency of the United States. And if that doesn't give you pause, then you really are not interested in a bright future for this country. And so Donald Trump picking up on this and framing it and putting the focus on Hillary Clinton and the Hillbilly House of Cards operation they're running is precisely right. That would, to me, be a great question to implant in the minds of voters come November 8th, or frankly, come September 9th when people start voting in states like North Carolina.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
What I care about is MyPillow. And guess what? If you haven't bought one yet, you are in luck. For August only, when you buy one premium MyPillow, you still get the second one free, but you'll also receive 2 additional Go Anywhere MyPillows for free. So you're actually getting 2 premium and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows for the price of 1. It's the best offer ever, and nearly every AM 560 host endorses MyPillow because it is the best. The National Sleep Foundation agrees because they made it their official pillow. It's washable to remove all the icky stuff that causes allergies, acne, and asthma, so it's healthy, and you'll sleep better. So visit MyPillow.com, click the radio listener special tab, and use the promo code Amy. You will get 2 premium MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows for the price of 1, or you can call 800-489-0201, mention the radio listener special, and use the promo code Amy. That's MyPillow.com or 800-489-0201.
A couple years ago, I had a severe accident which disabled my right hand and caused chronic pain and complete suffering. It took many years before really we figured out exactly what it was or how to treat it. My whole goal was I did not want to be on high levels of pain medicine. After some time, I went to see Dr. Kenneth Candido to try to figure out the source of the pain and a solution and how to solve it. He listens. I'm going to cry because it's so real. I've been through so much, and he wants to help his patients, and he's there for me whenever I need him.
This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. I have a simple message for you. If you or someone you love or someone you know has chronic pain, contact us. Treating chronic pain issues is what we do. We can make it better. Get an appointment and let's talk. MyPainChicago.com, MyPainChicago.com. All the info is available at MyPainChicago.com. Let's make you pain-free.
AM 560, The Answer.
There's a little Jody Watley. You mentioned Bill Clinton also going to stop giving paid speeches.
Right. I mean, they're sacrificing here, Dan. In addition to the Clinton Foundation shutting down some of its operations if she wins in November, Bill Clinton has agreed to stop giving paid speeches between now and Election Day.
Well, that's 80 days. I mean, they've only made $140 million off paid speeches in the last 10 years. So that is a sacrifice, and I applaud his sense of public service. Coming up at 8:38, who is less literate, Ryan Lochte or the mayor of Petersburg, Virginia? We'll have the answer after we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Sunny skies, flood advisory, and flood waters are up for Baton Rouge, Louisiana again. More than a dozen have died in localized flooding there, and another 2 to 5 inches of rain fell over the weekend. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards.
We really need help. Typically by this point in a storm, I think Red Cross would be receiving a lot more donations. I think there would be more volunteers signing up.
Edwards on CNN's State of the Union. A federal court today takes up a lawsuit aimed at getting all of Hillary Clinton's emails from her time as Secretary of State. The conservative judicial watchdog group Judicial Watch is suing under the Freedom of Information Act. Donald Trump says that the Clinton Foundation is corrupt, needs to be shut down immediately.
These are very greedy people. These are people that have skirted the law for a long time. Hard to believe that, somebody like this has a good chance and a fairly good chance of being president.
Trump on Fox News this morning. It's still the tourist season in the nation's capital, but one of the most popular tourist attractions is off limits. Washington Monument remains closed this week and maybe longer because of elevator problems. 6 officers at the Pontiac Correctional Center recovering from injuries sustained in a fight with 5 inmates. It happened yesterday afternoon at the Central Illinois facility. Chicago coming off another violent weekend, 7 killed, 45 wounded in shooting since Friday evening. One person is recovering after a fire started in a hotel in west suburban Oakbrook Terrace. Chicago sports, White Sox beat Oakland 4-2, a win for Jose Quintana, his 10th. Jason Hamels' 22-inning scoreless streak is over. Colorado beat the Cubs 11-4. The news, a service of Aruba Tourism, up for a little adventure in paradise. Just head down to Aruba. Go beyond the beautiful beaches and explore Aruba's dramatic coastlines, ancient caves, and hidden gems. Hop a nonstop flight from O'Hare to One Happy Island and plan your shortcut to happiness today at Aruba.com. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher gets rough with the Never Trumpers.
Maybe you just ought to stay in bed and leave the heavy lifting to some of us who are trying to fight for the country. How about you sit back and let those of us who are fighting desperately to keep Hillary Clinton out of the White House Let us do what we got to do because you're just in the way. You're boring, you're tedious, and you're maddening.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, great coffee, period.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
8:36. Let's get an update on the roads in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Michael. The Edens Expressway is fine inbound at 19 minutes from Lake Hook to Montrose, but outbound with delays out to Winnetka Road, it's 42 minutes from Montrose to Lake Hook. The Kennedy, 47 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 55. The Eisenhower's an hour and 5 minutes either way between Thorndale and the post office. Stevenson, 50 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45. Ryan is 25 minutes, 95 to downtown. Tri-State, the delays are northbound, but they've improved a great deal. It's from the Stevenson to 31st, very slow, and then Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. Adams Tollway heavy, 59 to Barrington Road and Bussey to Lee. Reagan Tollway delays from the Aurora Toll to Eola. Winfield to Yackley and Highland to the Tri-State. Veterans Memorials, those 75th most of the way to Roosevelt, and North Avenue to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Sunny and beautiful today, high 78. Currently 61. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next with Kristen McCreary of the Chicago Tribune editorial board joining us this morning on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Ayn Rand Institute and the Yaron Brook Show. Heard Saturday afternoons at 4 here on AM 560, The Answer.
Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy is Kristen McCreary, Chicago Tribune editorial board. Kristen, and need to do a little bit of Olympics wrap-up. Take your calls on your favorite Olympic moment, a real one, or perhaps a made-up story. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. I was struck by a couple of things. One, there was no John Carlos, Tommy Smith moment, no Black Power salute. In fact, it was quite the opposite. All of our great Black American Olympians waving the American flag, draping themselves in the American flag to celebrate their achievements, singing the Star-Spangled Banner while they're receiving their medals on the various podiums throughout the games. It was great. It was you're proud. They're proud to represent America, and we're proud to have them represent America, whether in basketball or gymnastics or track and field or swimming or anything else. Right. So I just wonder how that reflects, because there's been so much comparison to the tumult in our country right now, particularly in our big cities, to the 60s. And that's, of course, the 68 Olympics was the Tommy Smith, John Carlos moment, the Black Power salute. And maybe it's more overblown than we're otherwise led to believe by the coverage from the Washington, D.C. press corps. Maybe it's a small group of agitators, well-financed agitators, we're finding out, with George Soros' foundation and the Ford Foundation financing the Black Lives Matter movement, these professional agitators. So maybe it represents actually a smaller percentage of the population, including the African-American population, than we're otherwise led to believe.
I'm sure that's true, and you've brought that up before, that a lot of this is just small groups of people who claim to represent a certain group. And even within the Black Lives Matter movement, you see some of them trying to distance themselves from people like Jesse Jackson and Bobby Rush and kind of the old school demagogues of the who like to, use race relations to, temper any conversation. And
we have new school demagogues like D. Ray McKesson.
Well, that is true, but I do think there is a legitimate Black Lives Matter group, and they actually recently came up with some sort of an agenda that they want to try to accomplish. And then there's just the groupthink, the professional agitators who are paid to protest, which we've seen in our own city. I mean, we've seen the Chicago Teachers Union use some of its own resources to help push after Laquan McDonald's shooting to disparage police. You had somebody stand up at a Chicago Teachers Union rally and say "F the police."
Oh yeah.
So there's that element. Mm-hmm.
And no, it's not just that was one of the issues from the Olympics, and one that I was positive. Brian Lochte, not a positive a portion of the Olympics after he got out of the pool. He went before Matt Lauer over the weekend and did his act of contrition and disgraced the English language after disgracing English-speaking America.
What I'm trying to get at is the first version of the story you told, Ryan, was much more about the mean streets of Rio.
Yeah.
And the version we're hearing now is much more about a negotiated settlement to cover up some dumb behavior.
And that's why I'm taking full responsibility for it, is because I over-exaggerated that story. And if I never done that, we wouldn't be in this mess. Those guys would never be in Rio, or were in Rio. None of this would have happened, and it was my immature behavior.
Do you have the same reaction to Very Unique? Would you?
Right, it's
right.
redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, from the Department of Redundancy Department. Yes, Ryan Lochte, not a smart man, but I know who love he is. He's just not particularly bright, and so
maybe he's just not well spoken, like Mayor Daley, for example.
Well, sure, yeah,
lorded over our city for
some
moons.
Some malapropisms are worse than others, I suppose. But also, so the Ryan Lochte, we can put that to bed, as it were. Bury that at the deep end. But I also wanted to point people to Ryan Murphy, who doesn't get any coverage, probably never heard of. Ryan Murphy's a swimmer as well. 3 gold medals this Olympics: 100-meter backstroke, 200-meter backstroke, 4x100-meter medley relay alongside teammates, including Michael Phelps. And he was born in Oak Lawn, grew up in the St. Gerald and St. Germain parishes here. And he...
Did I do like my Southside salute or no?
Southside! Nice.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
Continue.
it's fine. I just wanted to recount what he had to say and reflecting on his Olympic experience. He said Catholic education was always important to me and my family. He talked about his Catholic schooling, his family sacrifice for him. He also said, I'm a firm believer in God. My faith is important to me. There are, however, times when I rely on him more than others. Overall, I'm private in my spirituality. Other than Mass, I pray before bed every night. I also believe it's important to balance my prayer life by actively living my faith. I hope to do this by being a good son, brother, teammate, and friend. I believe God has given me a great talent for which I'm eternally grateful. My faith gives me comfort despite the outcome of a race. I ultimately believe, I know, God has a larger plan for me. Don't expect Ryan Murphy, the other Ryan, the anti-Ryan Lochte, to be interviewed by Matt Lauer anytime soon. Oh, Mark in Chicago. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Dan, at the beginning of the segment, you stated that there were a couple of people that were funding Black Lives Matter, right? You said Soros and who else?
The Ford Foundation set up a $100 million fund, and then the Open Lands Foundation is Soros's. That's right.
Okay, but the Ford Foundation, now, it's kind of ironic that the Ford Foundation or the Ford Motor Company didn't take any money during the bailout like GM and like Chrysler did. So everybody was kind of against Chrysler and GM or was kind of buying Fords. Now, Ford's, giving money to Black Lives Matter. So where do we go now?
Well, thanks for the call, Mark. But I mean, the Ford Foundation is hijacked by liberals, like so many foundations get hijacked by liberals, which is why, like, some of the great conservative foundations, like the John M. Olin Foundation, actually had a sunset date, so that didn't happen to the Olin Foundation the way it did to MacArthur and Ford, and frankly, to some extent, McCormick Foundation, Colonel McCormick's Foundation, same thing.
Watch it.
That's what's happened.
Watch it.
I'm just saying. And obviously, George Soros's foundation, we know. But, I mean, Ford Motor Company is different than Ford Foundation, even though they bear the same name. Ann in Chicago.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, Kristen and Dan. About the Olympics, which was I thought congratulations to the winners.
Yeah.
They did a good job. I thought that grateful it was in Chicago. I'm glad it was in Brazil.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I thought that it lacked a lot of the excitement and the competition was not there this year. I didn't find it so much.
Wow.
And,
more critical than Tim Daggett. Okay.
What's that?
No, you're more critical of the Olympics than Tim Daggett is of gymnasts. But okay, go ahead, Ann.
Yes, I haven't watched one episode of it, and so but you were talking about the Democrats. I don't know why you criticize the Democrats so much. The Republicans allowed the Democrats to do everything they did. You have so much scandal. We voted for the Republicans. The conservatives, they did nothing. They let Obama do everything. Boehner, the judge, Obamacare. And then
yeah. Well, that's not the case at the local level in big cities, which is where we were talking about Democrats versus Republicans. But thanks for the call, Ann. Phil on the Northwest side.
Yeah, I'd just like to know what would happen if it was the other way around. Because, the communists always accuse everybody of what they're doing. And it's a funny thing how Democrats want Trump's IRS background, and they don't want to give up Clinton's information. And Soros can support Black Lives Matter and another anarchist situations. But could you imagine if Trump was supporting some sort of anarchist white organization?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Phil.
That's a good point. $100 million, too. So we're not talking about chump change here for Black Lives Matter.
I mean, that's chump change for the Clinton Foundation, but that's not chump change for most of us. Sean in Elmwood Park.
First off, a couple of things. But was that our Auntie Annie from years ago?
Yeah, it's a twister. Go ahead.
She sounds wonderful. I'm so happy. She's twice as healthy and twice as smart as Hillary Clinton, I'll tell you that. But anyway, let's stop giving anarchists a bad name, because with a government like ours, I wear that badge very, very proudly.
Do you light cop cars on fire and throw rocks at police? And
not anymore. He doesn't.
Not anymore.
But I'm
not yet.
willing
Okay.
to give it a shot.
All right.
Not yet.
Okay.
But nothing's off the table, Kristen. And by the way, I love when you fill in. I really do.
Thanks, Sean.
It's pathetic.
I really do. Because it's not just because in the 80s, Southside chicks were always my favorite. A lot of fun on Friday nights. It's because you're smart, clever, and you're one of the few, you and John Cass, the only two people I really like in print news any day.
Thank
but
you,
this is
Sean.
the one time, going back to the original story, this is the one time I'm upset that Chicago didn't get the Olympics. Because if this lying scumbag with his hair dyed would have tried this at a gas station on the south side, he'd have got his teeth kicked in. You would be doing a lot more than explaining. You'd be in traction healing. The kid's clearly a liar, clearly a fraud, and men don't dye their hair blonde unless your name is Roger Stone and you want to work for Trump, okay?
All right, thanks for the call,
It's even
Sean.
platinum. I wouldn't even call that blonde. It's really strange looking.
I like old school Ryan Lochte, the brunette. And he's back to the brunette now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
I
colored
thought
his
he
hair
was
back.
looking more like maybe Anna, our caller.
Don't
No.
you worry about it. I'll continue to follow Ryan Lochte's hair color, so you don't have to. Also, one other just kind of fun story from the Olympics. This wrestling match. Normally, I don't watch that or pay attention to it because but a bronze medal wrestling match between the Mongolian Ganzorig and Uzbekistan's Narasov. It sounds like kind of a horror movie, like a Godzilla movie, Godzilla versus Mothra or something. But it's Ganzorig versus Naruzov. The Mongolian was ahead 7-6 with only seconds remaining. But then he began celebrating and backing away from his opponent. That induced a penalty point against Narusov. For Narusov against the Mongolian, which tied up the match. Narusov, the Uzbekistani, held a tiebreaker advantage. So Narusov gets the bronze instead of Ganzorig, the Mongolian. And that ref decision led the Mongolian coaches to disrobe. I mean, this is better than anything Bobby Knight ever did.
Well,
They disrobed.
it's a throwback to the women's soccer team when they ripped their shirts off and it became this. It was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, but
Remember
this
that?
is in protest. That's different.
Oh, okay.
That's in celebration.
I thought we were just talking about showing skin,
Well,
removing clothing.
They stripped down to their skivvies and started banging their clothes on the mat until they were escorted from the stadium by
Luckily,
security.
they stopped at underwear. They did keep their underwear on, just
Yeah,
so that your eyes don't bleed if you accidentally Google this.
You saw the pictures of these coaches.
I did.
Gives-
Not a Calvin Klein model among them.
New meaning to the phrase Mongolian beef.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Coming up, we analyze Kristen McCreary's dream.
Not that kind of dream. Today, mostly sunny and beautiful, high of 78 degrees. Tonight, it will clear up. Temperatures drop to about 61. And tomorrow, another beautiful day, high of 82. I bet Dan Proft will be golfing with a low tomorrow night of 67 degrees. Let's get a check of traffic from Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Kristen. Well, if you're about to take the Eisenhower, you'll have no sugar plums dancing in your head. It's still a really slow drive, both directions. An hour and 5 minutes either way between Thorndale and downtown. Inbound delays start at North Avenue. Outbound, it's slow Cicero to 25th and from the Tri-State to North Avenue. The Edens is fine inbound. Outbound, 35 minutes, Montrose to Lake Cook. The Kennedy, 40 minutes O'Hare to downtown, 30 from Montrose, 27 on the Express. Outbound 53 minutes to the airport. Stevenson is 50 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 40. Ryan 25 minutes, 95th to downtown. It's clear outbound. Tri-State slow from the Stevenson to 31st and very slow Roosevelt to Grand Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway stop and go Bussy to Lee. Reagan Tollway Midwest to the Tri-State and Veterans Memorial. Slow but getting better. We still have delays on the northbound side from around 75th to the Reagan Tollway and from Army Trail to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
The sounds of summer from your very own pool and spa is brought to you by All Seasons Pools, Spas, and Outdoor Living. All Seasons Pools and Spas begins from the ground up with creative custom design, expert pool construction, and hardscaping, and then finishes with complete maintenance and care, leaving you to enjoy the of summer. As you soak up the sun poolside, imagine a fire pit, outdoor kitchen, or pergola. All Seasons Pool and Spa will turn your boring backyard into a vacation paradise. No need to go off the deep end. Relax, knowing that for over 60 years, All Seasons Pools and Spas has been making a splash in your neighborhood. Visit their showroom and store for a complete selection of pool, spa, robotic pool cleaners, and premium barbecue and grill islands. A trained staff is on hand to provide water testing, salt and chlorine products, and advice for servicing your pool. All Seasons Pool and Spa and Outdoor Living. 135th Street in Orland Park or resortlivingathome.com. That's resortlivingathome.com.
For over 4 years, foreclosure defense attorney Lou Bridges has shared the truth about foreclosures. For as little as $80, you can advertise your business in Lou's show on AM 560 The Answer. It's easy. Your advertisements will be professionally written and produced. You'll get credible exposure for your business on a radio station that touches listeners in 4 states. All sponsorships in the show are category exclusive. All sponsors must pass a rigorous vetting process prior to Lou endorsing and recommending your company to his listeners. Lou is looking for sponsors in the following categories: credit repair, HVAC, moving, siding, roofing, banking, IRS tax resolution, car dealers, painting, remodeling, and lawyers. Don't delay. Find out today how you can reach potential customers for only $80 a week with the Lou Bridges Show. To become a sponsor on AM 560 The Answer, call Larry Chappell now at 847-312-8197. That's 847-312-8197.
There's so many families in the Chicagoland area that cannot afford regular dental care. We take for granted our regular routine cleanings, but for many children and families, it's an added expense that's not in the budget. Yet oral health care impacts self-esteem and the ability to work, which is why the Chicago Dental Society Foundation Clinic is committed to improving the oral health in our communities. I'm Lauren Feldner, speaking to you on behalf of the caring dentists of the Chicago Dental Society, who have addressed this issue by providing free basic dental services at the Chicago Dental Society Foundation Clinic, which is located in DuPage County. At this clinic, we treat and educate patients and their families for free. We help them experience good oral health care. Our clinic is staffed with all volunteer dentists who depend on the generous support of donors to provide these services to Cook, Lake, and DuPage counties. Please help keep our free dental clinic open. Donations can be made at cdsfound.org. That's cdsfound.org. On behalf of the dentists of the Chicago Dental Society, thank you for your support.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And then my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code CHICAGO.
Based on actual cases, results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services. Have you received a letter or personal visit from the IRS? Has the IRS garnished your paycheck or seized your bank account? If so, you need to take action now. You're a target of the most powerful collection agency in the world, and you need representation you can trust. Don't get scammed by imitators and telemarketers' high-pressure tactics. At Wall & Associates, they develop trust with their clients through a free face-to-face consultation. They've saved their clients over $129 million in the past 5 years. Call 1-800-983-5313 now for your free face-to-face consultation. Ignoring your tax problem will only make it worse. Call 1-800-983-5313 to get immediate help. With over 30 years of experience, Wall & Associates has helped thousands of taxpayers, and they can help you. Call now, 1-800-983-5313. 800-983-5313. WallAndAssociates.net.
If you run a business, plumbing, HVAC, or construction, you know that some vans are too small.
We're gonna have to make 2 trips.
Others too big.
Watch the top! Watch the top!